bbc.co.uk. But for now, it's time to buckle your seats for the Las Vegas Grand Prix. From me, Will Tingle, thanks for listening and goodbye.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to BBC Radio 5 Live. Is everybody eating?
Yeah, boy!
Good. Everybody sober?
We call that simply lovely.
Close enough. What I'm about to propose to you is both highly lucrative and highly dangerous. This is the Grand F1 Master Plan. Our target? Las Vegas. Here's the crew we have in mind. Mad Max is in. He's mellowed in recent years and is the best in the business.
Max Verstappen, he crosses the line in second, but he becomes a three-time F1 World Champion.
Perez is his wingman. Everyone knows him as Checo.
The way Max pushed me throughout the race was really hard, but we managed to keep him under control.
Then there's Crazy Carlos. He's not actually crazy. He's a smooth operator.
It's Carlos Sainz and Ferrari who achieve the unthinkable and win the Singapore Grand Prix and makes it the first non-Red Bull win since Brazil 2022.
My first smooth operation in Ferrari. Smooth operator.
Fernando brings the experienced, Charles the swagger, and Oscar the youth.
We need to talk about Oscar Piastri as he rounds the final corner. Piastri and the McLaren will seal the deal in the sprint.
Then we have the British contingent, Gorgeous George.
Come on, team! And it's come on!
Lando and Lewis.
And Hamilton comes over the line and goes quickest. Pole position by 0.003 of a second. What a lap.
The aim? Don't get caught. Now let Palmer, Powell, and Tennant guide you through the rest. So, who's in?
Well, I tell you what, George Clooney, I am in. Welcome to Las Vegas. We haven't raced here since 1982, and it is finally time to get the show back on the road. We are just under half an hour away from lights out here in Sin City, and let me tell you, the atmosphere is electric. It has been for the last few days since we touched down in Vegas. So much hype, so much excitement about this incredible race, and the grid is busier than ever. Every which way I look, I can see stars and celebrities, not just from the motor racing world, but from every side of things. I've got Kylie Minogue to my left. I've got Usain Bolt to my right. It is star-studded, to say the least. And in the paddock, we have Elvis impersonators. We've had Cirque du Soleil on the grid. And everybody here is excited to be part of something very special. I'm Rosanna Tennant down here on the starting grid. And in the commentary box, we have former Formula One driver Jolyon Palmer and racing driver Alice Powell. Guys, a very good evening to you here. Local time just after 9:30. We'll get the show on the road at 10 o'clock. This is something else, isn't it, Jolyon? I think people are flagging a little bit. Such has been the incredible timetable we're running here in Vegas. But still, everybody's so excited to see how this race pans out. What are your predictions?
I am one of those people very excited for this one. The Vegas Grand Prix. And we've got a brilliant grid set for it as well after the action we saw yesterday. Charles Leclerc on pole position, Max Verstappen alongside him. My prediction is probably that Verstappen's going to win. He's winning everything in Formula One in 2023. Oh, you've got to say it as it is. He's won 15 of the last 16 Grand Prix, Rosanna. But I'm going to predict also a great race. There's some fast cars that have got to come through from further back.
And I tell you what, the track looks spectacular. It is illuminated. It weaves its way around this amazing and iconic city. We've shut the strip down. No small feat. So the cars will be racing along there with the Bellagio to their right. You've got Caesar's Palace as well. The incredible MSG Sphere lit up as well. Lots of different emojis, lots of different colours on that. Hopefully not too distracting for the drivers. But Alice, as a racing driver yourself, whilst it looks a little simplistic drawn out, this track, it's provided a few challenges already for the drivers, hasn't it?
It has, and actually, I mean, I hope I'm not going to jinx it now. We've not had only one driver, is it, that's brushed the wall, and it was Alex Albon in free practice 3. It does have its challenges, and one thing, of course, is going down into turn 12, we've seen many drivers after, it's not the longest straight, but it's still quite a straight, and it's a tricky corner as well because you're braking and turning at the same time. One of the Red Bulls, I didn't catch which one, but on the way to the grid, they'd already locked up and shot down the escape road. So that's challenging on the outlap. It's going to be challenging in the race as well, trying to maintain the grip in the tyre, trying to manage that as well, on top of driving around this tricky track. Like I said, turn 12 has played victim to lots of people locking up, as well as turn 14 as well, which has the really long straight from turn 12 to 14, around 1.7 kilometres long that straight is.
Oh, so much to challenge them with this evening. This track is new to everybody, so everybody's at the same disadvantage. I'm down on the starting grid, and as I look up to my right, there are people hanging over the balconies in Paddock Club, the very she place to spend a weekend. I'm sure lots of champagne has been consumed. And to my left, I've got all the fans in the grandstand. And over the couple of days, we've been saying that actually it hasn't been that full. But tonight, we got a full house. Everybody has turned out. There's been a little bit of negativity in the lead up to today, with fans being turned away for the second practice session on Thursday evening, which turned into Sunday morning at 2:30. So it's great to have the fans here witnessing something special. We've known about this race, haven't we, Jolien, for about 18 months or so, with Formula One putting it in place, but we haven't raced here since 1982. How it has changed. Everybody kind of laughs and scuffs, don't they, when they say, when we raced in Vegas last time, it was in a car park. This is so much more than a car park, Joe.
This is 41 years ago. We had the Caesars Palace Grand Prix, which ran for 2 years. It was the season finale in 1981 and 1982 in a car park behind one of the casinos. It didn't work. The track was boring, it was tight and twisty, the drivers didn't like it, and the fans didn't really attend it. 41 years on, we're here, and we're not racing in the car park of one of the casinos. We're racing down the strip containing pretty much all the casinos. They're all in this now. Everyone wants this event to be a great success. It's a 6.2 kilometre circuit. It is vast, and hopefully there's going to be some great racing as well. It is a very, very different atmosphere to be back here in Vegas.
Well, we've got a little bit of a speed bump perhaps here. I'm just standing at the back of Max Verstappen's car, who's starting from P2 this evening, qualified P3 on the road, but Carlos Sainz in the Ferrari has taken a 10-place grid penalty. I'm just going to grab a word with team principal Christian Horner. Christian, you've been looking at the back of Max's car. Everything all right with his rear wing?
Yeah, no, it looks like just some last-minute checks. So, Pedals seems happy, so if he's happy, I'm happy.
That's Paul Monaghan, your performance director. So if he's okay, we're all okay. What have you made of the last few days here in Vegas?
Well, it's been slightly nutty, but...
You celebrated your birthday, didn't you?
I mean, it's very generous of Formula One to put on a race in Vegas to celebrate my 50th. But yeah, it's been a fun weekend, and let's hope we can have a really entertaining race, because I think this track layout will provide that.
And okay, Max wasn't able to put it all together yesterday and take pole position, but I'm guessing you guys are confident in the race pace you have.
Well, we've tried to focus a little more on the race. Ferrari very quick over a single lap, but let's see over 50 laps what we can do.
And you got Checo starting quite a way back. Difficult day for him yesterday. Were those decisions you took in qualifying justified, do you think, not putting him out again?
Well, look, we saved tyres for the race, so let's see if that works. So we didn't have any more soft tyres available for that quali. And hindsight, shoulda, coulda, woulda, but I think that the running time wasn't optimal for him, but he's got good pace, and hopefully he can make good progress.
Well, a belated happy birthday to you, and hopefully Max is feeling more in the spirit. He hasn't kind of entered into it maybe as much as some of the others.
Yeah, exactly. Well, look, he's wearing an Elvis Presley suit today, so I think he's bought into the theme.
Love it. Thank you very much. Have a great evening. Christian Horner there, the team principal of Red Bull. So there you are, a grid snapshot for you. We've got Charles Leclerc on pole position alongside Max Verstappen. And Jolien, a little Achilles heel for Ferrari and for Charles Leclerc has been being unable to convert a pole position to the win. Do you think they can do that this evening with Max Verstappen right there on the front row? They kind of wish he'd be a bit further back, surely.
Oh, absolutely. You want Verstappen to be starting from the pit lane to have a chance in this season. I want to know who's managed to get Max Verstappen to wear an Elvis suit.
The commercial guys.
After all his comments this weekend, Rosanna, he came into the weekend saying this one was 99% show, 1% sport. And I think he's only dug in from that position since then. He seems really unenthused by this whole race. Now he's turning up wearing an Elvis Presley suit, and he's still got a very good chance. I think he's the favourite, isn't he, from the front row of the grid. Charles Leclerc will hope that he can manage to hold him off. He'll need to get a good start to do so. But yeah, Verstappen, he's not a very happy chap this weekend. He doesn't like Vegas, it turns out. Maybe he didn't have a good time in the casinos at the start of the week, but he's still the man to beat.
I tell you what, Jolyon, Elvis suits, we've got glitter, sequins, everybody putting on their best for this Saturday race. Are you rocking anything special for Vegas?
I'm wearing a shacket and chinos, Rosanna.
You're my style guru, Jolyon Palmer.
Rosanna, I'm an everyday guy in Vegas.
And I wouldn't want you to be anyone else. But I tell you what, another style guru has just come into our BBC commentary box, Andrew Benson, the BBC's chief F1 writer. Andrew, I know you've been down on the grid. It's quite something, isn't it? It is very busy. What did you make of it?
It's an absolute bun fight down there, Rosanna, isn't it? Got to a point, I was walking down the middle of the grid, I couldn't go any further. There were so many people crammed in between the cars of Max Verstappen and Charles Leclerc on the front row. I stuck around a bit. I mean, I don't generally like to go on grids. I find it's a bit sort of pointless from my point of view, for my job. But I thought I had to go and experience the atmosphere on the grid at this first Las Vegas Grand Prix, and it's been quite the weekend, hasn't it? With everything that's happened over the last 3 days. I can't even remember still can't work out what day we're on. But I'm really looking forward to this race. And you know what? I think Charles Leclerc sounded more positive yesterday than I've ever heard him sound all season. I don't think he thinks he's quicker than Max Verstappen, but I think he thinks he's as close as he's ever been this year. So maybe, just maybe, there's a chance.
Well, it is Vegas. Anything can happen. Did you get a selfie with anyone, Andrew? I know you love a selfie.
You know, that's very much not true, Rosanna.
Yeah.
And by the way, no one's called me a style guru in my life until today.
As I say, strange things happen in Vegas, but we'll leave them here, I'm sure. I'm just, honestly, trying to get through this grid is impossible. So many people here. We get sent an amazing list of who's attending, and it is many, many pages long. So many people wanting to be part of the action. It is something else. You can hear the engines firing up as well, because of course there's still a race to be had. And Jolyon, you mentioned, Max Verstappen slightly poo-pooing how things have kind of gone about here in Vegas. 99% show, 1% sporting event. As I just walked past the US broadcaster Gayle King, I might see if she wants a quick chat. Let me just see if she's around. Gayle, where are you? Good evening. Might I just ask how you're finding your experience here?
Oh, this is not my first Formula One, but it's my first Formula One in Vegas. And it's a whole, for all of us, and it's a whole different experience. There's something about night that makes it glamorous and, dare I say, sexy.
Oh, I like it, yes. She's using all the right adjectives, I have to say. Gayle King, the renowned US broadcaster. Jolyon, there is a race still to do. You almost forget that, don't you, when you come into the track and you feel like you're here to go to the casinos and things, but we're here for Formula One.
Oh, I'm here for Formula One, that is for sure. And there's a lot of people that are here for Formula One. I think there's a bit of a misconception about this race, that it is all for show and not for sport. You walk down the strip, and where most people are staying, and there's merchandise everywhere. I have seen, I think, a item of clothing in all different colours. There was an Alfa Romeo kit out there. Haas have got some support, of course it's an American team, but the fans are loving it, and you overhear conversations, because you have to here, because everyone's bunched in, whether they're on the grid or just walking through the streets. It's absolutely rammed, and everyone's talking about the Formula One.
Jolyon, I've got to stop you. I've got a bromance happening now right in front of me. Will.i.am and Usain Bolt. Gentlemen, if I might interrupt, how are you finding your evening here on the grid? Will.i.am.
It's great. It's electric. It's like electricity boats.
Oh, I like what you've done there. We've got Usain Bolt standing next to you. You've been on a grid before, Usain, but what's this like?
It's a vibe, because it's Vegas, you know what I mean? So the energy's high. A lot of music playing, just the energy, and I'm loving it.
Who are you guys supporting? Can you tell me?
Yeah, for sure. It's always Ham, you know what I mean? It's the energy, it's the vibe.
Enjoy your time with us. Thank you so much. Will.i.am and Usain Bolt. Just a couple of people milling around on the grid, Jolyon. What can I say? I'm mixing with the great and the good.
Oh, that's where you should be, Rosanna. You're down where you should be. A couple of legends.
Unbelievable. Yeah, that was a conversation I didn't anticipate having this evening, I tell you that. So let's bring it back to what is about to happen. The great and the good, as I say, are here on the grid. Fans are packing the grandstands around this 6.2 track. So many different places to watch from as the street sort of circuit weaves its way through the iconic landmarks, as we've mentioned already, the amazing hotels that maybe you've been to here in Vegas. The cars are firing up, everybody trying to get a picture or a video of the drivers, the key personnel. Of course, a lot of people here finding out about Formula One from the Netflix documentary Drive to Survive, Joe.
Yeah, that's how we've got such a big following, I think, in America. A couple of great seasons in the recent years, with 3 American Grand Prix now, and I've just seen a shot overhead of the grid, and it is a scrum down there. I've never seen a grid quite as densely populated as this one. It looks absolute madness. The drivers have all moved off it to the side. Sergio Perez repping a Ferrari red suit as well. Maybe that's his idea of the Elvis red suit, but he's sitting down next to Charles Leclerc, collecting his thoughts. Look, I thought he was a Ferrari driver for a minute there, Checo.
Much confusion. So the drivers are getting ready for the national anthem. It's going to be sung by Donny Osmond. So we're going to take a small breather, just to pause for the anthem, and then we'll be back to get to the basics of the Grand Prix. Wowee, that was Donny Osmond singing the national anthem here on the grid for the Las Vegas Grand Prix. It's Rosanna Tennant with you on the starting grid, alongside former Formula One driver Jolyon Palmer up in the commentary box, with Alice Powell, former W Series driver, and the BBC's chief F1 writer Andrew Benson. Did that give you the tingles, Jolyon Palmer?
It was great, wasn't it? It was a lovely rendition.
It was. They do things differently here, and just before the anthem we were talking about the 3 bites of the cherry that the USA has had at Formula One this year. This is different, isn't it, to the Miami and the Austin Grand Prix?
It is. They're 3 very different Grand Prix, and actually I was speaking to some fans earlier on who have been to all of them, Austin, Miami, and now this one. They've all got a different flavour. We were in Austin just last month, and it is chalk and cheese to this. It's a permanent racetrack just outside of the Texan city. Here, it's all about the razzmatazz, the show, and hopefully we get a great race as well. But they said, you know what? I think we prefer Vegas. This is really, really cool.
Oh, there's going to be big competition between those 3, isn't there, in years to come. Let's talk about the race then, because we can get carried away with the show and spectacle. Charles Leclerc on pole position, and yesterday, or today, however you look at it, in the qualifying session, Carlos Sainz qualified P2 on the road, but he will not start from there this evening. He's been given a penalty, and it's all linked to that water valve cover popping up in FP1 at the very beginning of the race weekend. Jolyon, such a weird way this has all panned out, that the Ferrari that went over the water valve cover has had to have everything changed about it, the chassis, the battery, various components, and that has led to a penalty. Carlos Sainz was furious after qualifying yesterday, still furious that he's been penalised for what he seems to think is force majeure, sort of an incident outside Ferrari in his hands. Can you run us through why he's picked this penalty up and why he should be so frustrated?
Yeah, well, actually a couple of weeks ago, Charles Leclerc retired on the formation lap in the other Ferrari and said he was the most unlucky man ever. Well, maybe Sainz would rival that now. At the start of free practice on Thursday night, within 9 minutes, Sainz ran over a water valve cover which had all come loose in the concrete block, and it punched a hole through the bottom of his Ferrari. He was approaching up to 200 miles per hour. There was huge forces involved, and it destroyed the chassis, it destroyed the engine, destroyed even his seat, got ruined. There was so much force involved, and we had a stoppage to the session, and it was abandoned and delayed, and that was one big talking point on Thursday night, which ended up being Friday morning. We finished at 4 a.m. But for Carlos Sainz, they had huge repairs to do, and crucially, they had to put in another battery into his power unit. So, by virtue of having taken a third component, you're only allowed 2. He has a 10-place grid penalty. Ferrari wanted to claim force majeure. It's not their fault, and that's absolutely true. But the rules are the rules. The FIA couldn't find a way to exempt them. So Sainz, second quickest yesterday. He only starts 12th, the teammate of Charles Leclerc, and he will be on a charge because, as he said, he has been spitting ever since he found out about the penalty.
And Andrew Benson, Ferrari also claiming that they feel that sportsmanship's gone out of the window. Whilst this is also a commercial business, of course, Formula One, but sportsmanship sometimes prevails. They feel that other teams would have protested if they had indeed been given a free pass, in inverted commas.
Well, Mercedes made it known that they were going to lodge a protest. They even had the paperwork ready, I'm told, by someone at Mercedes. So, look, it's a complicated subject. It's controversial. But it's also a difficult one because, you know, these sorts of things happen all the time. Of course, it was terribly unlucky for Carlos Sainz to have that incident on, what day was it? Thursday. I was about to say Friday then. But, you know, it happened to George Russell in Baku 3 or 4 years ago. Did Williams get a free pass then? No. If someone gets crashed into and it's not their fault, do they get their points given back to them? No. That's just the way Formula One is. You have to sometimes these bad things happen, and it just happens, and you have to accept it.
Yeah, such a strange quirk in the rules and regulations of Formula One. I'm still on the starting grid, and I'm watching the great and the good, the celebrities, the stars who've come out this evening now filtering off the grid. I can see tennis player Caroline Wozniacki. She's here as well. As I say, not just motor racing fans here, people desperate to see what Formula One is like up close and personal. And we are getting closer now to the sharp end of the weekend. So Charles Leclerc on pole alongside Max Verstappen. A few standout performances in qualifying yesterday, which I think really added to it in terms of the qualifying session. Jolien, Williams right up there. What a performance from them, but can they hang on?
I think they've got a chance. They've got a car that's very fast in a straight line. They had brilliant pace. This is Logan Sargent's best ever qualifying. It's Williams' best for 7 years, and they can score some huge points and end the hunt for 7th in the championship if they can finish even slightly close to where they are. 5th and 6th for them is a great shot, and we know Albon in the past could drive a very wide car. He's good on the defence. He'll need to be today because there's fast cars starting behind, but that'll be certainly one battle that should keep us entertained.
Yeah, he could be the cork in the DRS bottle, couldn't he? We might have a DRS train developing this evening. This track, we've managed to learn quite a bit about it. Of course, no historical data. In terms of strategy, I was having a chat to Pirelli's head of car racing and F1, Mario Isola, just a little earlier on. He's saying they're going to start on the medium and switch to the hard, probably. Soft tyres not going to get a look in. We've got cooler conditions here, and some of the drivers have been complaining about graining, where the tyre doesn't kind of keep its performance. So is that what you're feeling, Jolien? Would you want to be starting on a medium this evening to give you the best possible chance of making it far into the Grand Prix?
There's a calculation to be made. The graining of the tyres, where they're going to ball up, the grip's not going to be there, is going to be the limiting factor on degradation. It's cold temperatures still. It's actually warmer than anyone thought. We've only just dipped underneath 20 degrees track temperature, which is as warm as it's been all weekend on the track, but it's still cold in Formula One seasons. So it's about keeping those tyres alive, but you've also got to fire them up, and anything other than a soft tyre to start will be a little bit difficult off the grid. So I expect they'll go for the medium to start, but if they do, they've got to get their tyres warmed up, and that's going to be interesting in the opening lap.
And we've spoken about how amazing it's really been that we haven't had too many incidents. Alex Albon clipping the wall, his wheel rolling off down the street. We're surely going to be treated to a VSC safety car or even red flag. I was speaking to one of the performance engineers at Mercedes, and he's predicting a lap 2 red flag. What happens then?
Well, they'll have a restart and they'll go again, basically.
Thank you for that, thank you.
We've had that very recently, actually, Rosanna. But I agree that there could well be. We've had a very clean weekend so far, but in race trim, 2 kilometres straight, drivers all duking it out for position, the barrier's so close, lots of drivers out of position. I would be surprised if there's not a safety car. We've got no stats, it's the first time we've ever raced here. But I would put it a 90% at least chance if we get a safety car in this race, and we know that can shake out the outcome.
Do you know what? I wouldn't be surprised if we have a delayed race start. They are queuing to get off the grid at the moment. The celebrities they're not making haste, let me tell you that. Sort of shuffling, trying to get that one last selfie, that one last shot of being able to say, I was here on the grid for the Las Vegas Grand Prix of 2023. And they're queuing with the mechanics who've got all the equipment that they bring onto the grid. They've got to get that back to the garages. There's a real bottleneck, and I tell you what, the security guys down here on the grid, they're getting a little stressed. They are getting a little stressed, staying professional, but obviously they are up against it to make sure we get off on time. So, we may be a little delayed. Who knows? They're making announcements. You can hear that, the loud hailer. They're going for it, telling everybody to get off as quickly as possible. I am one of them, so I mustn't delay any longer. But this is getting exciting now. The hype and the excitement that has carried us into this weekend. Finally, we're going to see what it's all about, what it's really like to go racing here in Las Vegas. And on that iconic and famous strip, Jolyon, it really is something to behold, isn't it?
It is really high speed, this circuit. 6.2 kilometres. It's the second highest speeds of the year as well, and that'll be why I think we're going to have some overtaking. There's been questions in the paddock about, are we going to see a good race today or not? And the drivers are quite mixed on their views as well. Some drivers thinking might be a little bit DRS trainy, where it's difficult to pass. The low downforce might mean the slipstream's not that effective, or the DRS. I think if you can't pass on a 2 kilometre straight on this street circuit, then it's going to be not a great look for Vegas, especially with the amount of cars that we've got out of position.
So many people running alongside me. I'm now in the pit lane. We've been ushered off the grid. The mechanics are running, as they sometimes do with all their kit, but still so many celebrities in the pit lane. Another announcement being made now, being asked to leave the grid still. So you've probably got a better vantage point than me now, Jolyon, of what's going on the grid. And we've just got drivers, cars and mechanics. I hope we have.
Well, I'm looking out of the commentary box window and I'm looking at a very quiet grid, I have to say.
Good.
But I can only see the back, Rosanna. And no one's been too fussed about Yuki Tsunoda's AlphaTauri in all of this ceremony. At the back, Tsunoda lining up in 20th. A very serene view for him, but out front it was where all the melee was, and I hope we're going to be getting underway in due course.
It's quite a strange starting grid, isn't it? Because it slightly snakes around. It's not straight. We see so many of these racetracks with a full straight starting grid, but this one's slightly curved, so not all drivers are kind of right in front of the lights.
Yeah, no, they're not. And actually, just looking out of our commentary box window, Yuki Tsunoda is starting on a slight angle because he's qualified last on the grid and he's not going to be starting straight. So it's going to be pretty difficult for him to get a good launch off the line. But yeah, as Jolyon said, there's so many unknowns here. We've got no stats, we've got no stats of when the safety car's likely to come out. Jolyon's predicted lap 2, so we'll see. But there's so many tricky elements. People look at the track map and go, oh, it looks fairly basic, but trust me, when you speak to the drivers, it's certainly not.
Jolyon, we've spoken about how this track reminds us of Baku, maybe a little bit of Monaco in terms of the glitz and glamour, and Singapore for the night race element. But if we think about Baku, I remember racing there the first time, not me myself, I was there as a spectator, as you'd probably guessed, and actually the drivers took it a little bit more leisurely. We'd had some of the junior categories, the Formula 2 drivers absolutely sending it full send into the first turn, and it was all a bit chaotic. And then Formula 1 were a little bit more timid. Do you think we may actually end up having that they don't go for those gaps necessarily here because there are so many unknowns?
I hope not. I was in that first race in Baku and we were all expecting chaos, and as you say, nothing prevailed. It was very, very sedate. But we did have Formula 2 and we had all seen the support races drive like bumper cars through the weekend. Formula 1 is the only race on circuit this weekend. They've not been able to look at any of the overtaking or the racing from the other series. So this is a real voyage into the unknown, and I am really, really looking forward to seeing what's going to happen. I don't think it's going to be a sedate Grand Prix, this one. It really shouldn't be with the grid that we've got. And the grid is now cleared. Charles Leclerc on the front of the grid alongside the champion Max Verstappen. And now we can get on with the show, the race, the sport that we're all here for. It's just coming up to 10 o'clock local time on a Saturday night in Las Vegas, and this is the Las Vegas Grand Prix. So as the cars leave the grid, it's Charles Leclerc on pole position ahead of the champion Max Verstappen. George Russell in third from Pierre Gasly, who's had his best qualifying of 2023 in the Alpine. Then it's Williams, who've had their best qualifying for 7 years. Albon and Sargent ahead of Bottas, Magnussen, Alonso and Hamilton. Perez is 11th ahead of Carlos Sainz, who dropped 10 places for an engine change after his incident on Thursday night. Then it's Hülkenberg, Ricciardo, Norris having a tough weekend in the McLaren, Ocon, Zhou, Piastri, Stroll and Tsunoda completing the 20 drivers. Spectacular views as the cars come around the MSG sphere, then through the twisty section in the middle sector, And this really is an iconic setting for the penultimate Grand Prix of 2023. Charles Leclerc leading the pack around. And Alice, strategy could be quite crucial yet in this one.
Yeah, and they haven't got any data, have they? Apart from simulator runs and then some of the runs that they did earlier on in the weekend. But we've just got confirmation on our screen. At least the top 9 are starting on the medium tyre. Lewis Hamilton, he's opted to start on the hard tyre. Then you've got Prez, Sainz, Hulkenberg, Ricciardo, Norris and Ocon on the medium. And then Joe Guanyu, Piastri are on the hard. And then the final 2 spots of the grid, Lance Stroll, Yuki Tsunoda, they're starting on the soft. So they, in theory, should get the best launch. But Tsunoda, of course, he's starting on a slight angle.
That's the voice of racing driver Alice Powell alongside me, Jolyon Palmer. We've got the chief F1 writer of the BBC, Andrew Benson, alongside us as well. Andrew, Hamilton on the hard tyres here?
Well, I was speaking to some engineers earlier and they were saying that the hard tyre is going to be really difficult to warm up today, and it's also prone to graining more than the other 2 tyres. Well, perhaps not the soft, but we won't bother talking about the soft because there's only Lance Stroll and Yuki Tsunoda on it. So it's an interesting choice from Hamilton. He's obviously trying something different because he's in an out of what you would expect was an out of position grid slot. He's going to hope to go long. There's obviously uniformity from the strategy at the front, and I think Charles Leclerc needs to try and hold Max Verstappen back on this first lap.
It's going to be a crucial component to the outcome of this race. It's 50 laps that we've got coming up. Charles Leclerc now trundles down, brings the crocodile of snaking Formula One cars along the iconic Las Vegas strip. The Ferrari car resplendent under the lights of Vegas. He's got Max Verstappen just behind, and now he comes through the final corner and will get ready to line up on the grid. The tension is building, Rosanna.
It really is, and I'm in the paddock now, Jolyon, and so many people gathered around the screens up and down the paddock. I've never seen it this busy just before a race start. People still queuing to get back up into Paddock Club, and I've just seen Kylie Minogue settling into the Red Bull garage. Celebrities everywhere, ready to see what this Las Vegas Grand Prix can bring.
The car's now coming past our commentary box, getting towards the back of the field. Leclerc moving towards pole position. Max Verstappen with a very late move to the inside, Alice. It's a short run to the first corner. That start's going to be critical for Max.
Yeah, it is, and he's been very strong at starts recently, hasn't he? And the Ferraris, not so much, with Carlos Sainz, of course, saying chuck the clutch in the bin to his team after last time out in Brazil. But the last cars now, Jolyon, are finally lining up at the back of the grid.
Lance Stroll comes past us, then Yuki Tsunoda will get back into his position at the back of the field, turning slightly left at the end of this grid. This is the sound of Max Verstappen as he looks up towards the lights. The green flag waves at the back and the lights begin to illuminate. And on a Saturday night in Las Vegas, we're underway, and it's a decent start from Max Verstappen, who looks like he's going to come down towards the inside of Charles Leclerc. Leclerc tries to cover him off, but Verstappen is there on the inside. The two go very, very deep, and Verstappen's wide. Leclerc's off the road, and there's contact further back as well. Alonso's pointing the wrong way, as was a Mercedes in there as well, I think. But Verstappen has the race lead as they come through turn 3. Both the top 2 were off the road there, and that'll be looked at. But Verstappen snaking, defending from Leclerc, who's underneath his rear wing coming into turn 5. Behind them is George Russell in 3rd place. Gasly's still there in 4th. Albon is 5th. And Magnussen is in 6th position ahead of Logan Sargent. But Max Verstappen, as they come through the left-hander at turn 7, round the MSG sphere, he's got the lead immediately.
He did. A really great start. And he actually had drivers weaving between turn 4 and 5, not to defend, but to generate tyre temperature, as the McLarens are getting very close at the back of the grid there. But Max, he's already got a decent gap, Jolyon.
Stretching his legs as they come down now, up towards turn 12. Verstappen leads, and he is moving away from Charles Leclerc. Russell is 3rd, Gasly 4th, Albon 5th. Magnussen's had a good start up to 6th. The drivers that lost out, Bottas was caught up in that incident with Alonso. Sainz from 12th on the grid as weekend's got even worse. He's down the field, as is Norris, and Hamilton in the Mercedes lost a few places on that hard tyre as well. So they've all lost out, but all cars are still running as Logan Sargent goes side by side with Kevin Magnussen now up towards the final corner, the left-hander, as they approach the MGM Grand. Magnussen, always a tough customer to fight, but Sargent in the Williams sweeps around the outside and regains 6th position. So the end of lap 1, it's Verstappen from Leclerc, already a 1.3 second gap that the Dutchman has. Then it's George Russell, Gasly, Albon, Sargent, Magnussen, Ocon into the top 10. Then Stroll, Perez, Hulkenberg, Tsunoda, Piastri, Norris, Hamilton, Ricciardo, Zhou, Sainz, Alonso and Bottas. And we have a virtual safety car deployed.
I think Perez has just gone into the pits. I saw one of the Red Bulls, and it is Sergio Perez has come into the pits already, so I'm guessing he's got some kind of damage. Alonso's got damage.
I think we're happy you were ahead when you went off track. Happy to stay there.
Oh, of course I was hurt.
Perez in the pits with a front wing change, so he was caught up in that incident presumably with Fernando Alonso. They were starting right together. That was the team radio then from Giampiero Lambesi on the radio to his driver Max Verstappen, and they're trying, Andrew, to justify that start manoeuvre.
That's right, that's very interesting. That's a kind of defensive radio message. That was a sort of 2021 Max Verstappen move, wasn't it? Just throw it in late on the brakes, and he ran Charles Leclerc right out to the edge of the track. A bit reminiscent of Brazil 2021 with Lewis Hamilton at turn 4, if people remember that. The stewards are going to be looking at that to see whether he's forced Leclerc off the track. I'm not so sure whether it's relevant whether he's in front as he goes into the corner or not, because they were pretty much side by side, even if he did have a nose marginally ahead.
Well, let's get another look at it, Alice.
Yeah, Max gets a really good launch, and they head in, he brakes. I mean, he wasn't stopping, was he? Let's face it, he wasn't stopping, and then obviously it all starts to kick off further down the order. And now with the sound you can hear is riding on board with Charles Leclerc. He has a look to his left, pulls over ever so slightly, turns in, and yeah, Max just runs him off the road.
It is a joke if he gives the position. He wasn't in front at the apex and he pushed me wide, so he needs to give that position back.
Commentary from Charles Leclerc there, and that is the Monegasque driver starting on pole position. He couldn't turn into the corner.
That's exactly right. That's the key point there, Jolie. And the second key point was Max Verstappen and Giampiero Lambesi were wrong. Max Verstappen was not ahead. Charles Leclerc was ahead at the apex. He's telling the truth there. So it's going to be interesting to see what the stewards say.
It's very Jeddah 2021 there from Verstappen. Fernando Alonso looked like he almost just lost it on his own there, heading down towards turn 1. Did he get a whack before they got to the braking area from Perez, who did have front wing damage? Bottas was caught up in it. Sainz was also pointing the wrong way further down the field, and they've all got going again. Alonso and Bottas have been through the pits, as has Perez, and we're back under racing conditions then in Las Vegas. Lap 3 of 50, and immediately Charles Leclerc looking in his mirrors at George Russell getting closer towards him. Verstappen 1.8 seconds clear, and we haven't seen any message from the race director yet about that move for the lead at the first corner. Leclerc displeased about it, Verstappen defensive about it, and we will wait and see if there will be a position reversal or a penalty indeed for that for Verstappen. But he leads by 2 seconds. Russell now just drifting away from Leclerc, who's done a good middle sector, the pole man, to get away from the Mercedes behind. Gasly 4th, Albon and Sargent, the 2 Williams, still flying, and their straight line speed today could be a real weapon. We saw that immediately with the way that Sargent just deposed Kevin Magnussen on that first lap. The sparks fly as he sweeps through turn 12 and gets on the brakes for the trickiest corner, and now we get the investigation. Lap 1, turn 1, the move from Max Verstappen on Charles Leclerc as someone was sparking their way out wide at turn 12, and there is a double waved yellow flag, and there's a big incident. It looks like a McLaren in the wall, and it looks like Lando Norris has come a cropper at turn 12. He's found the wall, and he's gone a long way off there into the runoff area, corner that's caught drivers out a lot throughout the weekend, and Norris is in the barriers, and now we have a full safety car.
Yeah, there's a debris scattered there, so I wonder if he's lost it round 11. That's what he's saying. It's a really tricky braking zone. He's come on the radio and said that he is okay, so that's good news, because that is a big hit into the barrier, Jolien.
It looked like there was a lot of sparks from someone before they got to the braking zone. I almost wonder if he's bottomed out or had a mechanical issue that stopped him turning in there. He's made it a long way through the runoff area at speed, and he's gone right the way down to the Tech Pro. The left rear tyre has come off as well, Alice.
Yeah, so either he's had some kind of contact with somebody. Stroll has come into the pit, so I wonder, I don't think he was around Norris at all, was he? As Stroll puts on the hard tyre, it's a slow stop. The right rear was a little bit slow, but he's on his way, and in comes Carlos Sainz as well now.
No damage repairs there for Stroll. That looks like a strategy stop from him. The same for Carlos Sainz, who has a 2.2 second stop. Quite a nifty one there for Ferrari, and they will now catch the back of the pack, Sainz and Perez, who couldn't do that after their stop for the VSC. But we're under now a full safety car. Lando Norris gingerly gets out of his McLaren. A tough, torrid weekend for him. the man that's been on such good form in the latter part of this year. 6 second places from the last 9 Grand Prix. He's been Verstappen's closest challenger, but he's been a long way away from it in this weekend. And we're going to get a replay here of Norris coming through the left-hander at turn 11, and the car just gets away from him on a flat-out section.
Yeah, it was, and it's Lewis Hamilton that's collected the debris behind him. He was slightly wider, though, than everybody else, and he's actually lucky to just miss his teammate in front of him. Lewis Hamilton has to cut the corner because of the spinning car, but he was slightly wider, so this is Sam. We're riding on board with him now. Bottoms out by the sounds of it, doesn't it?
As he found a bump then, as he's loaded up at full speed, tucked in behind his teammate, but not too close. Suddenly the car just snapped, and the next thing, Lando finds himself pointing towards the wall, and you're right, Hamilton took quite a bit of debris just behind in the Mercedes.
Yeah, so we're riding on board now. The sound you can hear is Lewis Hamilton.
Norris, come off. His debris came off, hit my front wing. Okay, copy. We'll have a look.
So that was Lewis Hamilton reporting that debris hit the front wing, and he did a very good job there of slowing down and avoiding the debris as well.
Almost looked like there was going to be a fireball as Norris hit the outside wall at turn 11. Very, very quick left-hander, and that's been the source of problems for drivers approaching turn 12, because you come through there and hit the brakes fully committed, fully loaded up. But Norris didn't get that chance. He was already pointing backwards. The car just grinding along the asphalt, sparks flying, and Lewis Hamilton was just behind. It's very disconcerting from a driver's point of view when you're staring at that with a long loaded corner. Hamilton has taken debris to the front wing, but he hasn't pitted.
So Charles, the case is with the stewards, and we stay where we are in terms of positioning. Okay, at the moment it's like this. If anything changes, I will let you know.
So that's Charles Leclerc being updated with his engineer. No reply, but just going back to that incident, obviously everyone's full of fuel. They've got enough fuel for 50 laps plus. So the cars are heavy. We just had a virtual safety car, so tyre temperature would have dropped as well, which kind of looks like what's happened. He's just not got the tyre temperature. The car's heavy, and he's just had a swapper, hasn't he? Because that was a big hit, and we've not actually seen anybody go off there, and we're now just getting a replay of the start. And actually Fernando Alonso, he just totally misses his braking point. We're now riding on board with him, Jolyon.
Yeah, so this is the angle that we've not seen yet so far in all the start debate between Leclerc and Verstappen. Alonso was down the inside, but just simply ran out of grip and then was spinning into the path of Valtteri Bottas. Sainz looked like he had an incident that was very different. Maybe that was the collision then with Sergio Perez, and there were separate moves between the Alonso spin and the Sainz spin. This is the sound of Valtteri Bottas getting off the line. 7th place Bottas started in the Alfa Romeo. It was a great opportunity for him, but as he turns in, already fighting the rear of the car, he is greeted by Fernando Alonso, and I think he might have even had a little love tap from someone behind him as well. Maybe that was Sergio Perez. Let's find out. Finally, we get the onboard view of the Mexican driver heading down to the first corner. Does he have a little tap of Bottas? There it is. Whack into the back of the Alfa Romeo. And that was Perez picking up front wing damage. So he's been into the pits. Alice, what about Carlos Sainz?
Yeah, so Carlos Sainz doesn't get the best getaway, does he? Actually loses a position to the Haas on the right-hand side, and he misses his braking point, and he steams into the side that his front right hits the rear left of Lewis Hamilton. So tyre-to-tyre contact there. That then spins him round. So I'd tell you what, Lewis Hamilton is very lucky to not get a puncture there.
Yeah, Hamilton was out wide as well on that first corner, lost a few places, but with other drivers taking to the pit lane, he's now back up into 12th position, and he's had contact to his left rear, he's had contact to the front wing, but Hamilton's still going on the hard tyres that he started with. Rosanna Tennant in the pits. 5 drivers have come through and 1 driver out of this one already.
Yeah, a little bit busier than we were anticipating in the first 5 laps of this Las Vegas Grand Prix. I've moved through to the paddock, which is still heaving. And I tell you what, it's a little bit breezy now, Jolyon, which perhaps on a street circuit won't make too much of a difference. They're a little bit more sheltered here, do you think, because the way the circuit weaves its way through the buildings? So maybe it won't affect the cars too much. What do you think?
I would have thought the buildings could provide a shelter. But then living in London, and sometimes you get a real funneling effect, don't you, Andrew Benson?
Yes, exactly. It's a wind tunnel effect, isn't it, effectively? Like a Venturi under the Formula 1 cars, in fact. Yeah, the wind gets sort of squeezed between the buildings. We don't know yet, because this is the first race in Las Vegas. We don't know how the buildings in Las Vegas are going to affect the wind in that way, but there are certainly a lot of them.
So more potential drama then for this race. Lap 6 of 50. We're underneath the safety car. Drivers weaving, trying to keep some temperature into these tyres in the cool Las Vegas night. They head in towards turn 1, start another lap, but we are behind the safety car to recover Lando Norris's McLaren that was into the wall at quite high speed through turns 11 and then ended up at turn 12. The order is Verstappen, Leclerc, Russell, Gasly, Albon, Sargent, Ocon up to 7th from way further down on the grid. Then it's Magnussen, Hulkenberg, Tsunoda up into 10th. Piastri, Hamilton, Ricciardo, Zhou, Stroll, Perez, Sainz, Alonso and Bottas, the 19 runners. Safety car is in this lap and we will get racing again then. Coming through the MSG sphere now, the safety car, lights still illuminated. The Caesars Palace Hotel, twinkling in the distance. The Bellagio as well. The fans in there that have paid a lot of money to get to Andrew Benson's favourite viewing spot for the weekend. They're going to see some action now, and we've not had a huge amount of it. We've had drama so far, but we're going to see some racing laps coming up very, very shortly. Verstappen can control the pace. He is still the race leader. We still don't know if that investigation has been decided. Well, it hasn't been decided. We've got no further information about it. What about the tyre temps then? Through to turn 12, past where Norris had his moment. Verstappen now backing away from the safety car. The lights go off and he can control the pace. The first safety car restart that we've had, what did we give it? We gave it 2 laps. It was 4.
Just info at this stage, Max. The situation at turn 1 on lap 1 is with the stewards. We are not going to reverse on positions, so I'll leave it with you.
Okay, so Red Bull think they're okay and then they're just going to go for it now and hope that they're going to get away with it. It will be a 5-second penalty if they don't, and they're just going to take that at this stage, which would be a great shame for the race if that's how this one is decided. But Verstappen now weaving his way at low speed down towards the final corners at turns 14 and 15. The chicane down by the MGM Grand, the world's 3rd biggest hotel, and there's a lot of fans now ready to see the action as Verstappen steps on the throttle. Leclerc has a little lock-up right in behind him. The Ferrari desperate to get the position back, but Verstappen is gone as he comes through turn 15, the right-hander. He's already blasting away in the race lead. Leclerc will check his mirrors as they swing past our commentary box, starting lap 7 of 50. Verstappen has done a perfect restart, 1.1 seconds clear at the line. Verstappen controlling this one. Leclerc turns into the left-hander at turn 1. Further back, Oscar Piastri making a move on Yuki Tsunoda, and the McLaren driver is through up into the top 10. Piastri, and he's coming through turn 3. Tsunoda fighting back. Lewis Hamilton watching on just behind, whose car was okayed by Pete Bonington after having multiple contacts in the early laps. Piastri, the gainer in the safety car restart here, up into the top 10 as Magnussen has a little look back at the back of Logan Sargent's Williams. That's the 6th position further up. Zhou doing battle with Ricciardo. Sainz picking up places further back as well. The 2 Spaniards fighting it out down towards turn 5, and Sainz takes the position in the Ferrari that's looked rapid this weekend. He's been very unlucky, Carlos Sainz. And now as they swing through the MSG Sphere section, Sainz picking up the places up into 17. He's got a long way to go, but he's a man on the move.
He certainly is. But that was very clever restart by Max Verstappen, as we have the slippery surface flag sign out still on that strip coming down to turn 12. But Max, he went, but he kind of went slowly, and I think Charles Leclerc thought that he was actually bolting. He then had to stamp on the anchors and he locked up that front left, which of course, as soon as Max saw that, bang, he was away and he was gone. It's already got a 1.7 second gap, so he's easily clear of the DRS zone at the moment.
Hamilton now closing in on the back of Yuki Tsunoda as well. The Japanese driver started from the back of the field, started on the soft tyre, and he is still on that soft tyre, but starting to fall away again. Hamilton, the sound that you can hear coming through the final couple of corners, dives into the slipstream, and the Mercedes, unlike last time out in Brazil, has been quite quick in a straight line. He sits in behind the AlphaTauri ahead, and Lewis Hamilton, without the aid of the DRS down towards turn 1, will still look to the inside, but can't make it through on this occasion. Tsunoda holding firm, but he's run a little bit wide at the apex, and they're side by side coming up towards turn 3. It's a right-hander, and Hamilton goes right around the outside. It's a beautiful move from the 7-time champion. Hamilton, no sign of damage. He's up into 11th.
Yeah, great move by Lewis. Very brave there. Tsunoda on the obviously clearly degrading tyres, and we have the incident between Verstappen and Charles Leclerc he has a 5-second penalty, does Max Verstappen.
So, I think Red Bull knew that was going to come, and they've taken the time trial option. It's a pragmatic approach. It's a very, very boring approach for the Grand Prix.
It's a really controversial topic, this. A number of drivers have brought this up this year. When a faster car gets a 5-second penalty, it's almost like it's irrelevant, the driver's argument is. And I think in this case you could really make a strong argument for saying that he's not being punished effectively. Yes, he's got a 5-second penalty, but he's got a faster car. He's just going to, if Max Verstappen has a normal Max Verstappen race, he's just going to eke out that advantage and the penalty be irrelevant. Really, they should force him to give the position back, I think, in my opinion, if they're going to make the penalty count.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think as Esteban Ocon, there's a sound you can hear, he has a little look down the inside of Kevin Magnussen, thinks better of it, going down into turn 14. He'll get a good exit from there, as he then will force him under even more pressure through 17 and the run down into turn 1. It's a long straight, Joan, and he's right underneath the back of the Haas now.
Ocon tucks in, the Frenchman making up for a lot of lost ground yesterday, but he cannot make it through past Magnussen at the first corner. Magnussen's a little bit wide though, and Ocon can try and get towards him for turn 3, but Magnussen brings it back to the left-hand side and manages to hold the position. Further back, Piastri's making ground past Hulkenberg on the last lap, so the big drivers coming through. Hamilton in the Mercedes, Piastri in the McLaren as well, and Magnussen is still dropping back into the clutches of Esteban Ocon behind. Piastri, Hulkenberg and Hamilton all glued to the tail of the Haas, who qualified very well and now is struggling for the points. This is the Las Vegas Grand Prix. We're on lap 9 of 50. Chris and Ellie coming up with breakfast at 8 o'clock. But first of all, we've got 41 more laps of this, and it's been quite enthralling so far. The big question is...
you have been given the 5-second penalty for that incident, but you're already 2 seconds ahead behind, so we'll just keep eking that gap out to the stop.
Okay, so the big question is, can Verstappen make the 5 seconds to Charles Leclerc? And that is what they're going to do, Red Bull, and that was the message. You're already 2.3 seconds up, you've already got half of it, just keep driving. And Verstappen, absolutely unfazed by that one.
He does. I don't think he'll, of course, agree as Esteban Ocon swoops around the outside of the Haas of Kevin Magnussen. But now, Oscar Piastri, who's done a great job on that hard tyre of making his way further up the field, he is now putting Kevin Magnussen under even more pressure. Max Verstappen, though, he crosses the line, sets the fastest lap of the race, but that's then immediately snatched away from him by George Russell, who is actually closing the gap down to the Ferrari in front.
Oscar Piastri makes another move. This time it's on Kevin Magnussen, who's slipping back through the field. Magnussen has a look back to the inside of turn 3, but he cannot make it through. So the Australian rookie is up into 8th, but is he for long? Magnussen now with the DRS open, right in behind the McLaren driver. They're side by side, up towards the MSG sphere at turn 5, and Magnussen sweeps back around the outside of the McLaren driver. So Magnussen back into 8th. Ocon had blasted past him on the last lap as well, so Haas slipping back. Hulkenberg in 10th, has Hamilton right behind him as well. The McLaren of Piastri in 9th, the Mercedes of Hamilton in 11th, the two drivers making progress right now. Sainz has actually slipped back behind Alonso further back as well, so the two Spaniards still way down in 17th and 18th. Sergio Perez not making inroads in the Red Bull from 16th. Further up though, two Williams drivers still doing very well in 5th and 6th. Piastri trying to get up towards in the McLaren, but right now he's still in 9th behind Kevin Magnussen. The full order is Verstappen, Leclerc, Russell, Gasly, Albon, Sargent, Ocon, Magnussen, Piastri and Hulkenberg. Outside the top 10, it's Hamilton, Joe, Tsunoda, Ricciardo, Stroll, Perez, Alonso, Sainz and Bottas. But there are still moves being made, and the man on the move is Pierre Gasly in 4th place. He's right on the back of George Russell.
He is. I wonder if George made a mistake somewhere, but looking at the sectors, it doesn't really look like he did. So Gasly has suddenly found some turn of pace in the Alpine, 1/10 separating those. It's less than that now as they're heading down the straight, nose to tail.
And they flash past us in a blur, but still Gasly can't quite make the move on Russell in towards turn 1. We've seen plenty of overtaking so far. Lewis Hamilton has a look to the inside of Kevin Magnussen on this lap into turn 1, so he's managed to dispatch Nico Hulkenberg on the last lap. Perez now finds his way past Lance Stroll. There's a big battle now between the two Aston Martins and Carlos Sainz coming through those first corners. A lot of fast cars still out of position. They were on the grid. They're even further out of position by virtue of the lap 1 contact, trying to make their way through. But it's Lewis Hamilton now up into 10th place, and Pierre Gasly tucked in behind his teammate for P3 at the moment. Sainz and Alonso, the Spaniards, for 16th position now, still battling it out. Sainz comes back through down the inside at turn 5, sweeping past the MSG sphere, and Sainz this time will hold it on. But how long can you hold on for against Fernando Alonso these days? Fighting it out for 15th and 16th. Fighting it out further up was Oscar Piastri, and he's finally made a move on Kevin Magnussen. Piastri round the outside on the long straight. Lewis Hamilton made his way past Nico Hulkenberg in the other Haas. The Haas cars look a little bit slow on the straight. They look a bit vulnerable there.
Yeah, they are. As Lewis Hamilton, wow, he got very close, didn't he, to the back of Hulkenberg there.
That was dangerous.
Okay, copy that.
Actually, I agree with Leclerc there from the overhead shot we're getting. Max actually went and then almost stopped a bit too much for the corner. So the first angle we got, Andrew, I thought that was clever by Max, but what do you think?
Sorry, I forgot about my microphone there. It looked a bit like a brake test to me, didn't it, in racing driver parlance. That's when a driver deliberately brakes and tries to upset the driver behind, catch them unawares. That's 2 incidents with Max Verstappen so far in this race that are a bit controversial. And I think what's interesting about that is, after 2021, he drove pretty, a lot of people were very unhappy about the way he was driving through that year, including most of his rivals, complaining to the stewards, having meetings about it and so on. He's been a lot calmer and fairer in the last 2 years, but here we are. He's dominated this season, and I don't know what he obviously wants to win this race really badly, but it's interesting to me that this side of Max Verstappen's driving, this aggression, this controversial thing, some people would call it unfair, has come right back again.
Yeah, he's not been particularly happy this weekend at all. He's been extremely vocal in press conferences that he doesn't really want to be here because of the show. Obviously, he wants to race, but I wonder if that's just wound him up a little bit, Jolien.
I personally didn't think the brake test was too bad there. It was still at low speed, and Leclerc was a little bit further back. He did have a little lock-up, maybe he was caught unawares. I'd be surprised if that is really piquing the attention of the stewards, as Hamilton makes his way now past Kevin Magnussen as well and gets up into 9th place. But it's true, he's had a bee in his bonnet all weekend, and now it's actually shining through on the circuit a little bit.
Yeah, it is. I mean, you try and keep those things separate, don't let it affect your driving, but the gap at the moment is staying around about 2 seconds as Sergio Perez is continuing to make his way further up the field, now into P12. And actually, wherever you look in this sort of pack here, but from, you could say, P3 all the way down, that there's battles going on everywhere.
Here comes Sainz now, trying to make a move on Daniel Ricciardo as well. So the faster cars making their way through. Here is his radio.
We need action to cool the car. We need to stop the car. We need to stop the car.
We need action to cool the car, or we're going to risk stopping for Carlos Sainz, running in traffic, and he's right on the back of Daniel Ricciardo. They're side by side into turn 1. He can't chill out too much because he's still got Fernando Alonso, his compatriot, right in behind him. Sainz is going to go to the inside this time of Daniel Ricciardo as they hit the brakes for turn 5, the end of the first DRS zone, and he'll take another place. But that's quite dramatic, isn't it? On lap 13, the driver that started in the midfield, not opening up enough cooling for Ferrari and risking to retire the car this early on.
In these temperatures as well, and actually that's a lot easier said than done, especially in Carlos Sainz's position, because he's in traffic. Okay, he's got a little bit of a gap of fresh air in front of him now. Now he's gained a position and got past Daniel Ricciardo. 1.5 seconds the gap to Stroll in front, but that's hard because that's going to limit him moving forward because he's in the dirty air of the cars in front.
I wonder if that's contact that he had in lap 1. He was pointing the wrong way. Has he managed to block a radiator or something that's causing the temperatures to spike? Either way, is the man that's been struggling to be happy this weekend after his big impact with the water valve cover on Thursday night is still having an unlucky time, as Fernando Alonso picks off Daniel Ricciardo now. So Perez coming up to 12th, Sainz 14th, Alonso 15th. A reminder, Lando Norris, the only driver out of this race after a hefty crash 10 laps ago on lap 4 of the Grand Prix. We had a virtual safety car on the first lap as well for shards of carbon fibre from plenty of drivers in the wars. And the order on lap 15 of 50 is Verstappen now only 1.6 seconds clear of Charles Leclerc. Leclerc not letting him get away. Behind that it's Russell, Gasly, Albon and Sargent still 5th and 6th. Sargent now coming under pressure from Ocon, Piastri, Hamilton and Magnussen rounding out the top 10. Then it's Zhou, Perez, Stroll, Sainz, Alonso, Ricciardo, Bottas, Hulkenberg and Tsunoda. And a lovely move there from Esteban Ocon. We haven't seen turn 7 been done yet.
No, he almost caught him unawares there. We've got a yellow flag, well, temporarily a yellow flag in sector 2. That now is clear, but Esteban Ocon's looking on fire, isn't he, at the moment, having that sort of scrap and not getting through into Q2 due to the scrap with, it was Max Verstappen, wasn't it? Had a bit of choice words on the radio, didn't they, after that incident? But he's looking pretty racy.
Alpine are looking brilliant. They're a team that's struggled for straight line performance so far this year. They were miserable in Monza, struggled in Mexico. Here, on the second fastest circuit of the calendar, they are flying. Gasly has dropped back a little bit from George Russell, but he's still just over a second back. And Piastri has a big look at the inside of Logan Sargent this time as they head in towards turn 14. And it's a really smart move from the McLaren driver. Now Lewis Hamilton will try and pick up the pieces. This is the sound. On board, the 7-time champ coming past our commentary box to start another lap. And Hamilton's down the inside as well. So Sargent started in 6th, the American driver, on home soil for the 3rd time this year. And now he falls down to 9th place, done twice in 2 corners.
Yeah, he's on a move, certainly on a move, but not so much for Sargent. Clearly struggling with some degradation there, Andrew.
Well, and talking about degradation and tyres, this gap at the front is really interesting to me. It's down to 1.4 seconds at the end of that lap. And I'm just thinking back to, obviously it's Max Verstappen's Red Bull, he's probably going to win anyway, okay, I'll just caveat this before I even say it, but George Russell yesterday said, Ferrari look in a league of their own, they haven't had any graining, they've been super fast in the high fuel. Maybe there's actually a race on here.
Yeah, you're covering off your 2023 T's and C's by saying probably Verstappen will win it. You basically have to do that this year, otherwise you end up with egg in your face
but
at the end of it.
The time now, Charles Leclerc is within the DRS zone. He was within 1 second, 0.8 of a second to be precise, and he is chasing. He's suddenly really turned up the wick here as they're heading down the strip now. He closes closer and closer and closer, and George Russell is on the radio. He's been told to box, but Charles now is right up the back of Max Verstappen.
Race on for the lead at the Las Vegas Grand Prix, lap 15 of 50. Max Verstappen leading. He got the place controversially at the start. He's been given a penalty for that move as well. And as they flash through to start another lap, Charles Leclerc is just half a second back from the race leader. The 2 drivers that have been in a class of their own are dueling it out front now, and Leclerc is suddenly catching Verstappen extremely quickly. 9/10 quicker he was on the last lap. They come through turn 3 as George Russell does pit from 3rd place in the Mercedes, and Leclerc picks up DRS. Is Verstappen going to go defensive? Yes, he is. Covers the middle of the road, and the race leader is having to sweat in the cool Las Vegas night. They come through now, the left-hander, past the MSG Sphere, through turn 6, where Esteban Ocon's just done a sumptuous move further back, but Leclerc bides his time. He waits as they come through the left, through the right at turn 8. There's another left at turn 9, and then we get towards the long straights, coming down Sands Avenue, past the Wynn Hotel on the right-hand side, and Charles Leclerc can see the race lead, and he is really up for the fight in this one. One more corner as they come through to turn 12.
The tyres are going to get really big.
Understand, Max.
Verstappen is feeling the pressure, and he's got the red Ferrari right in behind him. 2 kilometres of straight now, and Leclerc can pick up the DRS as they build the speed on the Las Vegas Strip, past the iconic hotel, Caesar's Palace on the right-hand side. We've got the Bellagio coming up as well, and Charles Leclerc is coming through the inside of Max Verstappen with the DRS open. He makes an easy pass on the brakes down towards turn 14. Leclerc leads the Las Vegas Grand Prix. Ferrari are in the fight on this one once again on a night race on a street circuit. Max Verstappen is falling away, and he dives into the pits. He's got a 5-second penalty to take as well.
Yeah, that was he didn't bother defending there because he already had the call to box. But we've got the commentary box window, door open, and the crowd, they were screaming with excitement.
Rosanna's down there.
Red Bull are waiting. They've got to give this time. They have to wait the 5 seconds. Now they go to work. A quick pit stop for Max Verstappen, and he's on his way again. So Max Verstappen has now served that time penalty.
Russell came in on the previous lap. Can George Russell jump Max Verstappen here? That's the next question. And I think he may well be about to do that with a bit of an undercut. Piastri pits as well. There's a flurry of pit stops further back. Albon is in from 5th place, having a great drive in the Williams. Where is Verstappen in relation to George Russell? He's out behind.
Lewis Hamilton on the radio, though, he's saying he's got a puncture. Has there been contact somewhere along the line? He's down the inside. We're having a look at a replay, and yet contact with Oscar Piastri, who had actually a slow stop. That was down into turn 14, and damage as well for Piastri.
So that's why Piastri pitted on that exact lap as well. Front wing damage, the McLaren sparking as Piastri pulled to the left-hand side and into the pits. And this is the sound of Lewis Hamilton, third time unlucky. Contact at the start, contact on the safety car restart as well, and now he is going to slow with the puncture. The second contact was the debris, wasn't it? As he now plonked through a bollard on the inside of turn 14, and Hamilton's race is falling apart as he drops down through the field. Leclerc leads, Gasly now second, Ocon third. The Alpines are flying, but they haven't pitted. Then it's Perez, Stroll, Sainz, Zhou, Alonso, Hamilton slowing, and his teammate flies past him now as well.
Car's not stopping.
Has he also done some damage to his front wings? Those bollards, he had a hefty hit into that bollard trying to get out of the way for all of the cars as Gasly's into the pit as well now.
So interestingly, Jolien, Leclerc has not pitted to bank track position here. Now, he's obviously trying to get a tyre advantage over Verstappen to give him as much of a helping hand in the second stint as possible. Also, is the second stint the final stint, or is this going to be a two-stop race? We don't know, but I guess Ferrari are going to have to be careful here that they don't let Verstappen get too close to them as he builds back this deficit he's lost with the pit stop.
Plenty going on down in the pit lane, Rosanna.
It is very busy. Lewis Hamilton in with a stop time of 6.3. A little bit slow for the Mercedes team there, but they've managed to get rid of that punctured tyres, and he's out on the medium tyre now. Ricciardo also into the pits. The AlphaTauri driver stationary for 3.1 seconds, but Lewis Hamilton having a really difficult Las Vegas Grand Prix, Julian.
Yeah, he's already been struggling for grip, struggling for balance in that Mercedes. Was out in Q2, trying to make his way back through, and he was actually up the inside of Oscar Piastri. Looked like he'd made that move stick, and there was just a bit of contact as Piastri tried to hang it on around the outside at the tight turn 12, and the contact came, the damage came for both of them, and Piastri now down to 14th. Looks like he's got away with that relatively quickly by diving straight into the pits for a front wing change. Hamilton down to 19th and last as Sergio Perez makes a place. The Red Bull's back into second place. It's Sergio Perez, though, that's doing the job. He's made a pit stop as well, Perez. Pitted in very early under the safety car at the start, and Perez is up into second, 14.5 seconds down on Charles Leclerc, who leads the race. Verstappen, 3.1 seconds behind Russell, though, and this race is starting to look like Ferrari are controlling it right now.
Yeah, they do. They're looking quite calm, collected up the front there as Perez, of course, goes past Esteban Ocon, who's both of those drivers have gained some good places. But Max Verstappen, he's boxed, of course, and now he's looking quite racy. He's just set the fastest first sector of anybody overall in that middle sector, and a personal best in the last sector as well. But he has probably got to get through a little bit of traffic in front of him. He's 2.3 seconds off George Russell, who is only 4 tenths behind Zhou Guanyu.
So the full order on lap 19 is Leclerc from Perez, Ocon, Stroll, Sainz, Alonso, Zhou, Russell, Verstappen and Gasly in the top 10. Then it's Albon, Bottas, Piastri, Sargent, Magnussen, Hülkenberg, Tsunoda, Hamilton and Ricciardo at the bottom of the pack. Lando Norris crashed out earlier on at turn 11. This is the sound of George Russell in 8th place, trying to pick off Zhou in the Alfa Romeo, and he has made a pit stop. He's in a net second place, you'd have thought, but Andrew, there are 4 cars that took the early pit stop at the safety car, and they could play a role here. Sergio Perez is in second, Esteban Ocon is third and hasn't pitted, but then it's Stroll, Sainz and Alonso all have made a pit stop.
That's right, it's going to be, we've got Russell coming past Zhou by the looks of it here down the strip, or is he? Jolene, you want to take over?
He's round the outside, George Russell. He's got the fresher tyres, and Zhou doesn't put up much of a fight. Tucked in behind the Mercedes driver, and Russell has a car between him and Max Verstappen, who is starting to loom in the mirrors.
Yeah, so back to your point there, Sainz and Alonso are in quick cars, as you say, and they've stopped, so it won't be easy for Russell to get past them, and it may not be easy for Verstappen to get past them either. Caveat again, is Max Verstappen in a Red Bull with better DRS offset than anybody else in the field. But Leclerc's in really quite a reasonably as stronger position as anyone can be against a Red Bull with Verstappen in it this season so far.
And with Verstappen in traffic here, he's not really going any quicker than Leclerc, despite the fact that he's on a new hard tyre. Leclerc managing the pace out front, doing a very, very good job. 14 seconds clear of Sergio Perez as Verstappen has a look down the inside of Zhou coming into turn 5. But Zhou doesn't cede the place. He's in 8th. Verstappen in 9th, and Max will have to wade through the twisty stuff now. The left-hander of turn 6 brings you into a tighter left of turn 7, and the Red Bull doesn't make the move.
Yeah.
Riding the curve through 8.
Yeah, he's losing a lot of time here, but actually Sergio Perez, his pace is pretty good. He's setting similar times to that of Charles Leclerc in front. As Max Verstappen now, he's desperate to get past, and rightly so. He braves it round the outside of turn 11 and turn 10, and then gets it done before he gets to turn 12. He knows he's got to clear this traffic pretty sharpish, because he's actually lost a lot of time being stuck up behind Zhou there.
In the end, I think Zhou went back into blue flag mode in the Alfa Romeo, backed out of it and allowed Verstappen through. He's racing for position there, but he knows that the true fight will not be with the champion. Zhou now down to 9th position. Verstappen up into 8th, and he can get his sights set once again on George Russell, who in theory is in a net 2nd place. Russell, who managed to run with Leclerc and with Verstappen fairly well in the first stint as well. He was only a few seconds back, pitted early and took an advantage. Esteban Ocon comes into the pits now from 3rd position, and he will now lose all of that ground. So Stroll is promoted up into 3rd, Sainz is 4th, and Alonso is 5th. Those 3 drivers have made a pit stop, and we don't know really anything about these hard tyres. We've not really run them this weekend in a cool temperature. Can they go on and on and on? Can they go on forever? Will there be another safety car? Perez, Stroll and Sainz, they're certainly in play, but George Russell now is catching the 3 of them. He's on the tail of Fernando Alonso, and the battle will heat up again. Charles Leclerc leads the race, 13.7 seconds clear of Sergio Perez. On the charge behind Stroll, Sainz and Alonso is George Russell and Max Verstappen. That's the big battle at the moment for 2nd place, but Leclerc not feeling the need to pit just yet.
No, roughly 21 seconds if you decide to pit, and you do a fairly decent stop. So that would, of course, drop him behind Sergio Perez, and at the moment behind Lance Stroll as well. But at the rate that Sergio Perez, he's actually closing the gap down, as coming up now on our screen, box, the call for Charles Leclerc. So he'll be diving into the pits this lap, and now Ferrari, they've got to make it the cleanest stop they have ever done.
Leclerc peels off past our commentary box window and brings it into the left-hand side, dives into the 2nd pit box at Ferrari. They need to do a good stop. They need to keep this track position as George Russell attacks Fernando Alonso, and Leclerc, how did that look?
No, that wasn't good enough. 3.9, and you should be doing, well, Red Bull were under 2 seconds. It was a slow stop for Ferrari. The front right, Jolyn, didn't look like it went on very cleanly, and Leclerc gets a little bit of a twitch as well on the way out, and he slips behind Lance Stroll.
So Perez now leads the race. Lance Stroll is up into 2nd. Leclerc rejoins in 3rd with his teammate Carlos Sainz just behind him in 4th. Then it's Fernando Alonso defending hard from George Russell, who's got Max Verstappen for company once again. And Verstappen's just done the fastest lap of the Grand Prix, a 1 minute 37.8. As the fuel comes off, the hard tyres are starting to work, and Verstappen is finding some pace. He didn't enjoy that medium set, but on the hards, he is able to harry the back of George Russell, and Russell needs to get a move on passing Fernando Alonso here. They're fighting for 5th place. All of these drivers in the top 7 have pitted, but Stroll, Sainz and Alonso in 2nd, 4th and 5th, and Perez, the race leader as well, pitted much earlier and will surely have to stop again. Russell now tucked in behind Alonso. They're heading up towards turn 12, through 10 and 11, arcing to the right and the left, flat out, and now they can jump on the gas down the Las Vegas Strip, and they could well be 3 wide here. The Aston Martin with the Mercedes and the Red Bull of Max Verstappen for company, heading down the 2 kilometre long straight. Russell looks to the outside. Alonso covers the inside in the Aston Martin. What about Max Verstappen? Can he join the party as well? He might be a little bit too far back as Russell makes the move on Fernando Alonso, and Verstappen is right there as they hit the brakes for turn 14, but it's Russell then Alonso, then the Red Bull of Max Verstappen as he comes over the curve in 7th place still. Russell up into 5th, and this is the sound of Max Verstappen trying to make his way quickly through Fernando Alonso as well and keep the pressure on George Russell. Alonso there with not a big defence against Russell in the end, and Verstappen now makes it through on the inside of turn 1. There's nothing that Alonso can do in that Aston Martin on the older hard tyres.
Yeah, that was an easy job for Max Verstappen, but just looking at these sector times, Jolin, Leclerc, he needs to quickly set these tyres on, get them going. He is dropping further back from Stroll, even in front, and Perez as well. So that's going to be the challenge as well, is switching this hard tyre on in these conditions, with these colder conditions that they're used to. And the track temperature is dropping now, 17 degrees out there. So it's getting colder as we go further and further into the night.
Perez leads the race. He's 8.6 seconds clear of Lance Stroll, who's got Charles Leclerc a couple of seconds further back. Leclerc's got his teammate as a buffer. Before, there's George Russell and Max Verstappen coming towards him now quite quickly. That should be the lead battle at the moment. Leclerc in 3rd with Russell 5th and Verstappen 6th. They've been the top 3 since the start. We've got some interlopers after early stops, Perez, Stroll and Sainz, but Russell is feeling the heat from Max Verstappen. This is Verstappen's best chance now, down the strip, and he will pick up the DRS as they head down towards turn 14. Can Verstappen get ahead of George Russell? This will be a crucial pass for position, but the Mercedes has decent straight line speed. He manages to hold the Dutchman at bay as they hit the left pedal, the brakes for turn 14, through the left, over the curb on the right, keep it pinned through turn 16, and there's an 800-metre run now down Harman Avenue, and they'll complete lap 24 of 50, getting towards half distance, and Russell is soaking up the pressure for Max Verstappen, but he's also caught Carlos Sainz ahead, so he's going to have DRS himself.
Yeah, he is, and Max ran slightly wide there in turn 1. So we're getting a replay now of the slow pit stop from the Ferrari of Charles Leclerc, and yeah, it was the front right. Sparks flying off from the wheel gun, not a clean stop from Ferrari. And Charles, he's struggling. 1 second, or 9/10 shall I say, the last lap compared to Sergio Perez. So Leclerc is really struggling to switch these hard tyres on, Jolin.
And his rear gunner is under pressure now. Past the spear, in the middle sector comes Carlos Sainz. He's got his mirrors full of the black Mercedes of George Russell, who is still under pressure from Max Verstappen, and Russell looks immediately to the outside of Carlos Sainz as they come through turn 10. It's a flat-out right-hander into a flat-out left-hander, past where Lando Norris hit the wall, and then they will hit the brakes for the crucial left-hander at turn 12. Verstappen is swarming the back of Russell's Mercedes as well. Now they're onto the 2-kilometre way, down the Las Vegas Strip, and we're going to be having almost 3-wide racing action once again. It's take 2 for George Russell, round the outside of Fernando Alonso a moment ago. Now he goes to the outside of Carlos Sainz, but here comes Max Verstappen, picking up the slipstream of both. Can he get towards Sainz? Yes, he does. Russell's through on the outside, Verstappen's through on the inside. They both clear the second Ferrari, and now they can hair after Charles Leclerc as well.
I'm surprised that Sainz didn't try and put up a better fight there against Max Verstappen, because he sort of let him breeze through, but finally now, it must be said, Charles Leclerc seems to have switched on this hard tyre. It's taken a few laps to really get the temperature into them, but Perez is setting personal best as well, 137.9, and Leclerc 1/10 off, but Max Verstappen now is right up the back of George Russell, DRS wide open. But that looks to me like the Mercedes, Jolin, is pretty handy on the traction out of the corners.
They've had good straight line speed. They have been chalk and cheese to how they were in Brazil. They're looking after the tyres and they can defend. They've got straight line speed. They were absolutely past left, right and centre last time out in Brazil. But here, Russell is raceable. 4th for him, 5th for Verstappen. He has still got his mirrors full of the Red Bull though. Verstappen is putting heaps of pressure on George Russell, the winner of the Brazilian Grand Prix last year. Hasn't had a sniff of victory yet this year, and they're side by side coming into turn 12. Verstappen's on the inside, that's going to be close, and there's contact. Russell sent wide, Verstappen takes the place. They were side by side into the corner, and what level of damage will that cause?
It looks like Max has got he's damaged on the front wing, so his front wing end plate went flying off with the contact there. Has George Russell got a puncture? We're riding on board now with Carlos Sainz. He goes down the inside of Charles Leclerc. He's made his way past Lance Stroll, but I think Max has got damage.
So, Verstappen has the place. He's passed George Russell after laps of hounding the Mercedes driver. But at what cost? There was definitely carbon fibre that flew off in the clash side by side between the two. Verstappen went for the inside at turn 12. Russell tried to turn in.
Check my tyre. Front wing.
Tyre is okay for now, Max. Stay out for now. Tyre is okay.
And the duo that have been trying to hunt down Leclerc, they are still there, but either of them got damaged? Both of them got damaged? Certainly, Rosanna, something came off the cars there.
Yeah, you're right. A lot of debris flying up into the air, but I'm standing actually at pit in. I've gone for a little bit of a wander, and the cars went straight past, so not coming in, as you heard on the radio, staying out for the time being, Max Verstappen is. And I'm just at that final turn. Grandstand absolutely packed with fans. And as I look back behind me, I can see the sphere lit up and an amazing magenta pink. We've got the big hotels lit up as well. This backdrop for the Las Vegas Grand Prix is really something else, and the fans seem to be loving it in the grandstand. I have to say though, a lot of booing for Max Verstappen even before the race got underway this evening during the drivers' parade, and a huge cheer when Charles Leclerc got past him. So I feel like there's a real pressure on the Ferrari team to deliver something special this evening. I don't think this crowd want to see Max Verstappen win this.
We've had replays of the incident between Verstappen and Russell. Verstappen was just behind heading to the apex. Russell certainly turned in as the full safety car is deployed, presumably to pick up shards of carbon fibre. From which cars?
Well, that front wing end plate, the front wing end plate, that's a mouthful, is certainly missing on Max Verstappen's car, and he's been told to box, Jolien, and in the pit as well is Sergio Perez. So our current race leader is in the pits, another set of hard tyres on there. But Max is in because he's going to have to change that front wing, because that's actually a lot of damage, and I wonder if it's done some damage to the floor as well.
Yeah, definite damage then for Verstappen, who picks. Perez seats the race lead as well under this safety car on lap 27 of the Las Vegas Grand Prix. Loads of drivers taking this opportunity to make another stop. All of the early pitters are in. Russell pits as well from his damaged Mercedes. He's back out on circuit. In also has come Sainz and Alonso. Zhou finally pits, and they're very, very close out of the pit lane. Verstappen and Esteban Ocon. Not the best of mates, certainly not the best of mates after yesterday as well, where Verstappen lunged Ocon at the end of the start of Ocon's final qualifying attempt. I think Verstappen just kept that place, which will mean he is in 5th possession under this safety car. So the full order on lap 27 of 50 is Leclerc, Perez in 2nd place. He's rejoined in 2nd. That's worked out really well for Sergio Perez. Gasly is 3rd. Then it's Piastri, Verstappen, Ocon, Stroll, Albon, Russell, Sainz, Sargent, Alonso, Zhou, Magnussen, Ricciardo, Hulkenberg, Bottas, Tsunoda, and Lewis Hamilton leaves the pits, and he will be right at the back of the field again. Big damage on the front wing actually of the Red Bull.
And he's not changed it. So they've come in, they've changed the tyres, and they've opted to not change Max Verstappen's front wing. And as you said, Jolien, there's a lot of damage to that front wing. Clearly Red Bull think that that's not important. Obviously they know a lot more about their car than we do, Andrew.
There was a race 2 or 3 races ago, someone had front wing end plate damage. Who was it? And they carried on with it. Leclerc
in Mexico. Yeah. He did the first stint with a damaged front wing, was pretty solid, changed the front wing at the red flag, looked less competitive when he had a fully intact front wing. So Red Bull presumably have just thought here, it's not worth the 7-8 seconds it takes to change the front wing. It's not worth them losing all that track position. Verstappen was very close with Ocon coming out of the pits. Certainly would have lost that position and a few more. They thought, we're going to keep the damaged front wing, we're going to take the track position and try and fight back that way.
And we just caught a replay there of Carlos Sainz coming into the pits, that he had to brake for the Red Bull that was coming out of the pit lane. And then we've got another close call, and that is between an Aston Martin and Max Verstappen.
Stroll and Verstappen side by side coming out of the pits. Verstappen took the place. Stroll was released towards the Red Bull's path, and that was Verstappen then keeping the ground that he had over Lance Stroll earlier on, having made the pass. Very, very close, and that'll be an unsafe release, will it not, for Lance Stroll, a man who's copped a couple of penalties already this weekend.
Yeah, that certainly will. See how sideways Max Verstappen got, very sideways out of the pits there, and was just in front of that safety car line, so he is allowed to obviously pass then Ocon, because he was ahead on that safety car line on the exit there, as all the drivers are frantically weaving left to right. They'll be using the brakes as well, desperately trying to keep the temperature in these tyres as the air temperature and track temperature continues to drop. 5 to 11 at night here in the streets of Las Vegas, and what a Grand Prix we've had so far.
Indeed. Now, Leclerc did not stop under that safety car, so he's taken the on-track lead back. The problem for him is because he didn't pit, he didn't change his tyres, obviously. And the others have got now slightly fresher tyres than him, only by 4 laps or so, 4 or 5 laps. But at the restart, that could be crucial in terms of warming them up quickly.
And we saw the way that Alonso and Sainz were gobbled up by those that pitted for new tyres. So Leclerc and Ferrari have taken the track position. They're back in the lead. Sergio Perez is up into second. He started 11th today. He's had a really topsy-turvy race. He pitted at the end of lap 1 for damage. He's now gone up into second, having taken a new set of tyres. And Perez had really good pace in that stint of the race as well. So Perez now, under this safety car on lap 28, is staring at the back of the race leader on used hard tyres. The safety car will end at the end of this lap. They're coming through the middle sector right now. Behind Perez, Gasly's up in third, also didn't pit in the Alpine. Piastri didn't pit in the McLaren. He's fourth after his earlier contact with Hamilton, and that was cleared by the stewards. Then it's Verstappen with a damaged front wing. Ocon is sixth. Stroll is seventh. Here's Leclerc.
I nearly lost it. The tyres are cold.
Oh dear.
It's safe to say he nearly did lose it. Hands were crossed there trying to warm up the tyres, Julian, but as you said, the tyres are cold. It's going to be hard to get it going.
Down the strip they come. Once again, the crowd's looking over from the hotels.
Max, just a Stewart's update again. Turn 12 incident with Russell is under investigation.
Okay, it just looked like he just didn't see me at all. He just turned in onto my wheel because he didn't expect me to pass him there.
They were side by side coming into the corner. Verstappen slightly back. Russell turned in, side by side contact. He's surprised that that's not a racing incident between those two, but we're getting ready to go now. Leclerc checking his mirrors on the right hand side, up towards turn 14. He's been second on the restart last time. This time he leads it and he almost loops it as he comes out, puts the power down, coming through turn 15. I was absolutely wrong about that incident between Verstappen and Russell. Russell's been given a penalty for causing a collision on that. Through they go to start lap 29. Charles Leclerc is in the lead. Sergio Perez is not attacking. He's defending from Pierre Gasly just behind. Gasly in third. Piastri fourth. Verstappen still fifth. And further back, Fernando Alonso is making a move on Logan Sargent, the American. Started in sixth. Has just been shuffled down to 12th on this safety car restart. But Leclerc, for all that difficulty on the tyres, that was a very decent restart from him. He stretches his legs as he comes down toward turn 5. He's got breathing space. Perez is second, and Piastri comes through now past Gasly up the inside for third at turn 5. Nice move from Piastri. A late jink to the inside, and now Gasly checks his mirrors and he finds the champion, Max Verstappen, in 5th place, staring at the back of the Gasly Alpine, who's right on the back of Piastri, who just made that nice pass, and they're all sliding around, Alice.
Yeah, they certainly are. Gasly getting ever so close as well. And the wind has suddenly picked up, according to Lewis Hamilton. But I tell you what, Charles Leclerc is going to need a new change of underwear there. He was ever so crossed up trying to get on the power. And Perez has now already started to close the gap down. What was a second gap is now down to 6/10.
That's the voice of Alice Powell alongside me, Jolyon Palmer, Andrew Benson with us in the commentary box, as well as Rosanna Tennant in the pitch. This is the Las Vegas Grand Prix. We're on lap 29 of a chaotic 50-lap Grand Prix so far. Chris and Ellie are coming up with breakfast at 8 o'clock. But first of all, we've got a small matter of a Grand Prix to settle, and we've got another incident for the stewards, and there's Verstappen again, this time for an unsafe release. Verstappen in 5th, under investigation.
Yeah, as I said, Sainz had to slam on the brakes to try and stop so he didn't go into the Red Bull. So usually you would say that's a slam dunk, wouldn't you?
No further action. We're not calling this right at the moment, are we? No further action. So that was a quick clear from the stewards. Russell then getting a penalty for turning into Verstappen at turn 12. Verstappen was quite a way down the inside, even if he wasn't quite ahead at the apex, and Russell turned in. They've deemed that George Russell was at fault, the Brit down in 9th, having pitted for repairs. And now we have Sergio Perez starting to apply the pressure on Charles Leclerc, who didn't pit for for new tyres under the safety car. Will he pay the price? Up 30 now of 50. The car's heading towards the right-hand side through the middle sector. Leclerc leads, and he's got his mirrors full of Sergio Perez, who's having a very, very good afternoon so far. Much cleaner than his teammate. Verstappen is on the tail of Pierre Gasly as well. The Red Bulls second and fifth, both on the attack. But as they come up towards turn 12, the left-hander before the strip, it's going to be Perez applying pressure on Leclerc for the lead of the race. The Street Fighter, he won 2 races at the start of this season. We thought he might be fighting for a championship. He's been absolutely nowhere near. He's now fighting for second place in the championship, but he is having a great evening in Las Vegas on a Saturday night. And Sergio Perez now, without the DRS yet, is looking at the back of the race leader, sparking their way down the strip, down towards turn 14. Leclerc leads Perez. Piastri in the McLaren is up in third. Gasly now defending from Verstappen, but he can take the racing line into the final corner. He's feeling the pressure now as the Dutchman completes another charge in this race. But as they start up 31, it's Sergio Perez on the attack.
And I'll tell you what, who's also might be joining this fight soon is Piastri. He seems to have real good pace in the McLaren there, doing a great job, so closing the gap down, but Max Verstappen seems to be a little bit stuck behind the Alpine of Pierre Gasly at the moment.
DRS is now enabled, so the chance to overtake will be increased with those 2 DRS zones, allowing moves into turn 5, where Max Verstappen is approaching, with Pierre Gasly's Alpine getting bigger and bigger, but Verstappen can't make it through, can he? Down the inside at turn 5, past the brightly illuminated MSG sphere. No, he has to wait for the moment. Oh, there's drama everywhere in this one. Who's going to win it, Alice?
Do you know what? I actually don't know.
Oh, give me a name.
I would say Perez is looking racy at the moment. I said at the start of the Grand Prix we could be looking at Leclerc, but I reckon Perez has suddenly come on fire during this race.
Andrew?
I agree. It's looking strong for Perez, but at the moment the problem is that he's only a couple of seconds behind, and it's Verstappen. So as long as that front wing hasn't the front wing end plate damage hasn't affected his pace too much, and it doesn't look like it at the moment, I think if you were to look at Verstappen against Perez for a fight for the lead in the closing laps, you'd have to bet on Verstappen.
Verstappen still 5th place, chasing Gasly. Perez is chasing the race lead. They're heading down towards turn 14, down the strip, long straight. It's 2 kilometres, and Perez is nose to tail with Leclerc. He has a slight slide in the Red Bull, fighting the rear as he applies the pressure on the race leader. They come out now down Harmon Avenue to start another flying lap on lap 32 of 50. The laps are chalking through pretty quickly as well here. Leclerc still leading on his older hard tyres. He's got his mirrors full of Perez, and Piastri's not far behind them either.
He's just that fastest lap of the race as Piastri, who started, bearing in mind, 18th on the grid. So he was way down. Of course, he has done a stop less compared to Sergio Perez and Max Verstappen, but he's also looking very good. But heading down now, DRS wide open for Perez. Not quite close enough down into turn 5, but Leclerc he's handy in the middle sector, so as long as he keeps getting that exit out of turn 12, it then will help him massively going down the strip.
Verstappen's up to 4th. He's passed Gasly, and he now can set his sights on the top 2, which is almost the top 3, with Oscar Piastri close as well. But Perez is flying. The Red Bulls are coming into their own on the hard tyre, and as they come through the right-hander at turn 10, Sergio Perez is getting a good look at the exhaust of Charles Leclerc's Ferrari. One more corner to go until they hit the strip, and this is 2 kilometres of straight with a DRS zone, and this is going to be a fantastic opportunity for the Mexican to take the race lead. They come through. They will open the DRS now, Perez, and Ocon behind, closing in on his teammate as well. But for the race lead, it's going to be Sergio Perez now. Leclerc goes to the middle of the road. Can he defend it? Can he do anything about the Perez move? No, he can't. Perez through on the inside. No defence really from Leclerc in the end. Down towards turn 14. Sergio Perez is the new race leader as they end lap 32.
Yeah, Perez pounces and he goes through. As you said, no defence there at all, but I tell you what, I hear the crowd roaring as Sergio Perez makes the move, but he's not escaping down the road. But fastest lap for Max Verstappen. He is hunting these trio down now.
The Red Bulls are looking quick right now, and Sergio Perez has a lot of support here.
It does, Jolien. I don't know whether I'm standing just in front of a Mexican fan's grandstand, but the cheer that went up when he made that pass on Charles Leclerc was incredible. They are really behind the Mexican driver this evening here in Vegas.
Applause from the Red Bull garage as well. They've got their driver to the front of the race. They had one driver at the start taking the lead, getting a 5-second penalty and coming under pressure from Leclerc. He lost the lead. He took a penalty at the stop. George Russell came through as well. Then there was contact between Verstappen and Russell as Verstappen tried to come back through. That caused damage to Verstappen's car. We had a safety car to clear up that damage, and through it all, Sergio Perez has been the Red Bull on the offence so far today. Having played the long game, doing a very good first stint, he's managed to take a pit stop, emerged in second place, and now he has cleared Charles Leclerc for the race lead. And Alice is starting to get away from the Ferrari, just over a second between Perez and Leclerc as Verstappen closes in on Oscar Piastri. The second Red Bull now making a move down the strip to the inside. Piastri tries to fight back, he's late on the brakes, but Verstappen will have the move, and through he goes. Max Verstappen now up into the top three as those Alpines are still doing battle further back. Gasly and Ocon, not the best of mates in that team, the two French drivers fighting up for big points today in 5th and 6th, and Gasly defending from Ocon as they come through to start another lap. Flashing past us at turn 17, and they're right together. Ocon making the move down the inside.
Yeah, he does he keep it? He runs slightly wide. He was forced by the dust onto the dust. He tries to keep it up the inside. I'm waiting for Alpine to be on the blower here and say, look, come on boys, we're in a good position. But Ocon goes again. Gasly's on the defensive.
Okay, Spanner, we want to hold position for the moment, please. Hold position for the moment. Think about tyre management.
Through he goes. Ocon passes Gasly. They have not held position. They've not thought about tyre management. The battle that lasted half a lap ends in Ocon's favour, and he'll say that's why we don't hold position. I'm much quicker and I can prove it on circuit. Ocon up into 5th, Gasly down to 6th, Albon 7th, then it's Stroll, Russell and Sainz the end of the top 10. Alonso looking in from 11th right now ahead of Joe. Hamilton still running in 13th, then it's Sargent, Magnussen, Hulkenberg, Ricciardo, Bottas and Tsunoda, your 19 runners. Out front, Leclerc still just about a second away from Perez, and crucially should pick up DRS as they come down the strip once again to get himself back towards the race leading Red Bull, but he's got another Red Bull charging up behind.
He has, so as well as looking in front, he's going to be looking behind. I mean, I don't know if Leclerc is doing some kind of tyre management here, but he's now starting to match the pace of Perez. Of course he's going to have the aid of DRS, but we've not heard any radio calls or anything from Ferrari about any struggles or anything, but the gap's around about 6/10 of a second now, as we're getting another replay of the Alpines getting super close as they continue to fight for position. I mean, I'd love to be a fly on the wall in the Alpine engineering debrief, Jolien.
You can sit in them, can't you?
I could, yeah, I could probably go in and sit in, and then I can give you all an update of what it's like in there.
Gasly and Ocon, old rivals in their junior careers, the young Frenchmen. Been in Formula 1 now for a few years and fighting it out. And it was actually a lovely move by Ocon as well, around the outside in turn 5. Race is still on, guys. Perez leads, Leclerc is second, and he's just marginally there, getting to about half a second back from Sergio Perez. It extends a little bit through the twisty section past the MSG Sphere. Now they get on the throttle and can come up towards turn 12. Leclerc is certainly closing in this time on Perez, but closing in on both of them is Max Verstappen, who's just set the fastest lap of the Grand Prix. Last time around, 36.8 for Perez, 36.6 for Leclerc, 36.3 for Verstappen. They're all closing up, but Leclerc is starting to pile the pressure back on Sergio Perez. What a race we've got.
Yeah, but there's 3 of them. 3 people, not just one person battling for the lead. We've got 3 people battling for the lead here. Leclerc is streaming up to the back of Sergio Perez. Perez pulls over ever so slightly to defend, Jolien.
Leclerc's late on the brakes, he sends it to the inside. That's a move for the race lead from Charles Leclerc down at turn 14 from a long way back. He smoked it in and Leclerc leads the race again from miles away. He was 8/10 down before he picked up the DRS there, had a huge run down the strip and took the race lead away from Perez once again. 15 laps to go. Leclerc leads the race. It's Perez just behind and Verstappen now on the coattails of his teammate as well. Leclerc has not got any breathing space though. 3/10 between Leclerc and Perez as the Mexican driver now will pick up the DRS heading up towards turn 5. The sphere lighting up in the Las Vegas night just in front of them, and Perez cannot get close enough for a move this time around on Charles Leclerc for the race lead. He's going to have to watch out for Verstappen behind as well.
What a move by Charles Leclerc. Dives down the inside. He actually caught.
Good job.
And that's Leclerc's engineer saying good job, and it was a very good job. He caught Sergio Perez by surprise there. He actually started to turn into the corner, did Perez, and had to jink out of it. But it's interesting to see now what these two Red Bulls will do, because Max is clearly at the moment the faster driver, and Leclerc, he's getting away.
That's one of my favourite moves of the season, honestly, from Leclerc. For the race lead in Vegas, and he just sent it from a long way back and just took the place. A surprise attack from Leclerc on Perez. Here's the sound of Max Verstappen. He's running third, but for how long? His teammate is closing into his view now, and Perez defends the inside. They're fighting it out, but he's going to have no defence. The three-time world champion goes round the outside, and that move is a done deal. Verstappen is back into second place, and now he can attack the lone Ferrari out front. Leclerc leads the race. Verstappen is just half a second back. Then it's half a second to Perez. The top three still running together. Behind them, Piastri's still got a view of this. 2 seconds further back in the McLaren. There's Ocon, Gasly, Stroll, Albon, Russell, and Sainz, the top 10. Sainz charging through the field in the other Ferrari, trying to get something out of this after his miserable weekend. But his teammate has got to fight off a two-pronged attack. First of all, the advance of Perez. Now it's Verstappen.
Let's work together here. We can get it.
I think that was Verstappen saying, can I come through, please, because I'm a little bit quicker.
Yeah, I think you've hit the nail on the head. And we're having a look at the sector times now as they're bleeding out of sector 1. Flash across. Less than a tenth separating Leclerc and Verstappen in terms of sector times in the first sector, but 0.6 is the gap on the road, and they are nose to tail. The top three, it's going to be hard to call this one, and DRS could play a huge, will play a huge role in this race, and it could come to whoever's going to be the smartest using the DRS. And we saw that Carlos Sainz was very good with that. However, it's a bit harder here with the long straights.
Stay with him. Double time in. We work together.
Verstappen is close now. They're coming down the strip once again on lap 37 of the 50-lap Las Vegas Grand Prix, and Leclerc will feel the heat of the Red Bull now. And Verstappen opens his DRS. Can Leclerc defend this at all? It's such a long straight here, 2 kilometres. Leclerc goes to the middle of the road, but Verstappen goes to the inside. Leclerc's late on the brakes, and they're still side by side into the corner. Wasn't expecting that level of defence there from Leclerc in the end. Having not gone to the inside, he was late on the brakes, but through goes Verstappen regardless. The Red Bull man is back in the lead, and Leclerc is facing some onslaught from these two cars. Lap 38 of 50 on a Saturday evening in Las Vegas. If this race is 99% show, I'm loving it.
Yeah, I wonder if Max is enjoying the show now. He's sitting out front, and yeah, Charles Leclerc needs to make sure that he nails going onto the strip, but so does Max Verstappen, and Sergio Perez is right up there as well now, so still got a three-way battle for the lead. But as you said, Jolyn, Leclerc was the latest on the brakes. He seems to be very confident on the brakes, doesn't he, on that run down into turn 14.
That's a big weapon in his arsenal, the braking for turn 14. It's proved to be the best overtaking place on the circuit at the end of the strip. And Leclerc, he's got to stay within a second of Verstappen to get close there with the DRS. That's going to be his first mission, but if he can, he may yet be able to fight back again. Lap 38 of 50, Leclerc is 1 second back from Verstappen. He's on the edge of the DRS, and he's going to have to stay close to keep Verstappen in check for these last 12 laps. He's got Perez just within a second of him as well. The top three eking out their gaps for the first time in a few laps, but they're all still within DRS. It's been that close for a handful of laps now. Piastri, Ocon, Gasly, Stroll, Albon, Russell and Sainz, the rest of the drivers in the top 10. Sainz under pressure from Fernando Alonso. Those two feels like have been racing each other since the word go. And it's Hamilton, Joe, Sargent, Magnussen, Hulkenberg, Ricciardo, Tsunoda and Bottas at the back of the field. Lando Norris, Rosanna, the only retirement so far.
Yeah, and we've had an update, Jolyon, from McLaren saying that following his incident earlier when Lando crashed out of the race, he was transferred to the circuit's medical centre. He's now been taken to the University Medical Centre for further precautionary investigation. So we hope Lando is going to be all right. That's the latest from the McLaren team.
Okay, good to hear that Norris has been checked over and hopefully he was okay. It was a big incident that he had, losing the car at turn 11, quick left-hander, ended up in the barriers at the end of turn 12. It brought out a safety car earlier on in this race. Feels like a long time ago now. And he is the only retirement so far from this one. George Russell is on the attack. Alex Albon in the Williams tries to go to the inside as they head down towards turn 5. Russell on the outside, looks to make the pass, but he'll have to wait a little longer. He's got the Ferrari of Carlos Sainz just behind him. There's a nice gaggle forming for 8th position at the moment. It's Albon, Russell, Sainz and Alonso all trying to scrabble around for the minor points here.
Yeah, it is all aboard the Alex Albon train, and it's a forever growing train at the moment. But Carlos Sainz, he's even closer to the back of George Russell as they stream down. Lewis Hamilton has joined this fight as well. And the battle for the lead, I tell you what, Leclerc is very strong in that middle sector. It was Charles Leclerc that was strong in the sector, and that's really helping Verstappen as he goes on to that back straight, down the very long strip, because we've got the DRS detection zone at turn 13, which is a quarter of the way down that straight, and that's a big benefit for Verstappen being so strong there.
Russell's got a good chance to pass Albon for 8th position here, down the strip, long straight. The Williams has been great in a straight line so far this year, but it's not good enough to hold 8th position for Alex Albon. Russell is through. He's now going to try and clear away from these cars. Albon looks behind. He's going to see the Ferrari of Sainz, the Aston Martin of Alonso. Verstappen being told to try and break the toe. The radio communication he's just got. Albon has got Ferrari of Sainz, the Aston Martin of Alonso and the Mercedes of Lewis Hamilton behind him to try and hold on to some points. That's a trio and a half.
It's a great train to have behind you, isn't it? Really, some great names, of course, behind there, some legends of our sport, that is for sure. But with 10 laps of this race remaining now, Jolyon, as Alex Albon runs slightly wide, he's now going to lose a position to Sainz, Alonso, and he's going to be very vulnerable too with Lewis Hamilton. He's just about going to keep that position, so clearly struggling with those tyres there.
Albon waves goodbye to the points. Hamilton now comes towards the inside of him at turn 9. Haven't seen a move there so far this weekend, but we chalk one up with Hamilton making the pass. He's up into 11th, and Albon is 12th. Sargent slips to 15th. Here's Russell's radio.
Down, George.
Hunt them down, George, is the message to the Brit. He's got 4 seconds to make up now to Lance Stroll to try and get something back. He's got a 5-second penalty looming over him as well. Let's not forget, for the contact with Verstappen. Out front, still race on between the top 3. Verstappen leads on lap 40. Leclerc 1 second further back. He's not quite within DRS range, but he's still getting a juicy slipstream. And then it's Sergio Perez 6/10 back from the Monegasque Ferrari driver in second place. 10 laps to go of the Las Vegas Grand Prix, and it's still all to play for.
Yeah, it is. But remember, it feels a long time ago now, but around about lap 10, just before a first round of pit stops, Verstappen, we thought, yeah, he's looking pretty comfortable out front. And then all of a sudden, the Ferrari of Charles Leclerc came to life, and Max was on the radio struggling with the tyres. Of course, that was the medium set of tyres. They're currently on the hard tyres. So I just wonder whether we will get that in the next several laps.
This could be a pivotal moment, though. Leclerc's dropping away, and Perez can attack the Ferrari driver, and Leclerc doesn't have the DRS. If Red Bull can get a 1-2 in this one, they can start to dictate the pace at the front, start to create a buffer, and maybe protect Verstappen and protect the race lead from Charles Leclerc, who's just dropping away. It's 1.7 seconds now, the gap from Verstappen to Leclerc, and Leclerc feeling the heat once again from a Red Bull in this one on lap 41. It's Sergio Perez, and it's for second place as they jump on the throttle, blast past Caesar's Palace on the right-hand side of the strip, up towards the Bellagio, where Perez will line up a move on Charles Leclerc, where he was passed for the race lead, 5 or 6 laps ago. It's been all changing so quick in this one. But as they hit the brakes for turn 14, Leclerc will hold on for a little bit longer, but he is just drifting away from Verstappen. 1.5 seconds the gap now. That's as big as it's been in this stint.
Just make sure you protect that front right tyre, Max.
Communication there from GP to Max Verstappen. Protect the front right. It's not done yet.
No, it's certainly not done yet at all, but Max is very strong now and has the legs on Charles Leclerc in that first sector as well as the middle sector at the moment, as we're just catching another replay of how they changed positions, Jolyon. And as you said, Charles Leclerc didn't really put up a defence, and then all of a sudden was the latest of the late breakers, but because Max was just down there on the inside, he was able to keep the position.
Well, Verstappen broke about 50 metres too early. He was very cautious on the brakes, thought he had the move done, and then Leclerc fought back and tried to get racing with him, but Verstappen had the inside, and that was the critical move at the moment for the lead of the Las Vegas Grand Prix. Verstappen now leads 1.6 seconds clear of Leclerc. Leclerc keeping him honest, but Verstappen eking out that gap, trying to break the slipstream, as he's been advised by his race engineer. And Leclerc's maybe going to start to look more in his mirrors at the Red Bull behind, rather than the Red Bull inching away out front. The Vegas Grand Prix may be getting away from Charles Leclerc on lap 42 of 50. It's been a brilliant fight between the one Ferrari and the two Red Bulls. But Max Verstappen now just eking out the gap, and Leclerc, as they come down the strip once again, is starting to look at the Mexican Red Bull driver just behind him. Perez still not close enough for a move, still fighting his Red Bull coming into turn 14, the left-hander. Chicane, you bounce over the curb at right-hander of turn 15, then they get on the gas down Harmon Avenue, and they'll flash past our commentary position once again, pretty much on the apex of the final corner. They'll hair through here at about 200 miles per hour. They're gone in a flash, and they'll start lap 43 of 50. And Perez is just half a second further back now from Charles Leclerc. He's starting to really put in consistent pressure.
Yeah, and bearing in mind, Max Verstappen has got a damaged front wing, so he's doing all of this with a damaged car, because of course they decided not to change the front wing on that round of pit stops when we got that safety car from the contact that was caused between him and George Russell. So Max putting on another strong display as the gap, unfortunately for Ferrari fans, is eking out ever more. 2.1 seconds now.
Well, they tried to make the front wings less effective with the rules over the years, tried to make their cars be able to follow each other a little bit more closely, make the aerodynamic components on the top of the cars less efficient, make it all come from the ground effect, which we've got now. And as proven by Leclerc in Mexico, Leclerc's off, Leclerc's wide at turn 12, and this time Perez is through. It's a mistake from the Ferrari man. And as I was saying that, Leclerc has ceded second place, just a lock-up from the Ferrari driver, and Perez, who has been waiting for that chance. He's been applying the pressure. He's been stalking Leclerc for a number of laps now. The pressure's finally told, and Leclerc has lost second place. It's a Red Bull 1-2, and that one looked like just a simple lock-up for Charles on a corner that's been catching drivers out all weekend.
Yeah, he was trying to go down the box. It sounded a little bit clunky from the Ferrari. He'd actually just set a personal best first sector. And yeah, I mean, that's easy pickings for Sergio Perez, as the Red Bull garage applauds. They now have a healthy 1-2, but battles still continue down the field as Esteban Ocon has popped up into fourth, but that is because Piastri has now come into the pits. Piastri pits on lap 44 of 50. Something has gone awry then for the McLaren, surely, for him to pit there. He wasn't a mile away from Leclerc, so nightmare for Piastri, who was running up in fourth. He tumbles out of the points, and he will be side by side with Albon when he resumes, coming through turns 1 and 2, the left-handers. Then he'll turn it into turn 3 on a new set of medium tyres. Piastri is down in 11th. Hard break for him. McLaren now looking like they might score no points from this Grand Prix. They've both started towards the back, but Piastri had a chance there, and something has gone wrong. Sainz up in 7th place, is under pressure from Pierre Gasly. I think he's actually just cleared Gasly, hasn't he, Carlos Sainz? Gasly's slipping back through the field, and he was another driver like Leclerc, didn't fit a new set of tyres at that safety car. Those drivers look like they're paying the price.
George, we are still playing before.
Toto Wolff on the radio to George Russell, giving his driver a G-up. Russell up into 6th with that pit stop for Piastri, and Gasly now is under pressure from Alonso. So a little bit like Leclerc, those drivers that didn't pit took a short-term gain. They're feeling the pain at the end of this Grand Prix. This is the sound of Fernando Alonso down the Las Vegas strip, sparking his way in the Aston Martin. Moves to the right-hand side, picks up a slipstream from Sainz. Gasly will fight back, but Alonso is through, and that's 8th position for Fernando Alonso, who's in a little bit deep, and Gasly can try and fight back. They come through the left-hander at turn 15. Hamilton's there for company as well. Lewis Hamilton now jinks to the inside of Gasly. Alonso's up into 8th. Gasly is in 9th, but can Hamilton make it through? The side-by-side past our commentary box at turn 17, and Hamilton now makes it through. Gasly suddenly struggling a lot.
Yeah, I wonder if Gasly's got a problem, because he was around his teammate, who's now, because of Piastri pitting, was P4. So Gasly is just, I mean, he's falling further and further back, so I'm unsure if there's an issue there on Gasly's car or not, but that's frustration for the Frenchman, because he had a great qualifying yesterday, qualified 5th, but of course because of Sainz's penalty was jumped up and promoted into 4th place. But that is now promoted Hamilton and co to skip past the Frenchman. So, that's frustrating for Pierre Gasly.
Verstappen leads, 4 seconds clear now of Sergio Perez. This looks like it would be a dominant display from Max Verstappen, especially when he took the lead at the first corner, but it has been anything but. But with 5 laps to go in this Grand Prix now, looks like he's getting there towards yet another win in this 2023 season. Perez has got Leclerc still for company. Leclerc cracked at turn 12 a couple of laps ago, ceded the place, but now he's back within DRS range, and these two look like they might do battle again before this race is out. Leclerc just 7/10 back from Perez in second. Then it's a long way back to Esteban Ocon, 12 seconds back from the podium battle. Ocon ahead of Stroll. Then it's Russell, who's been told that he can still play for P4 here. The Mercedes driver in 6th. Then it's Sainz, Alonso, Hamilton on the back of Fernando Alonso in the battle for 8th. And Pierre Gasly now down to 10th. Piastri 11th on a new set of mediums, trying to clamber back into the points.
Yeah, and Lewis Hamilton now streaming up to the back of Fernando Alonso. Obviously, 2 greats of the sport, but they've got history between them, haven't they? But there's a Hamilton not quite close enough at the moment. 6/10 separating the both of them, as Hamilton now has the DRS on the run down to turn 5. He jinks out a little bit, trying to distract Fernando Alonso, but he's a wily old fox. And he had a brilliant display, didn't he, last time out in Sao Paulo? Really clever move to clinch the final podium playing position with Sergio Perez. Did Fernando Alonso on Sergio Perez. Hamilton, he's now right up the back, and surely when we get to that part of the strip, heading down between turn 12 to 14, it'll be very, very, very tough for Fernando Alonso to hold off Lewis Hamilton, who would of course have the DRS.
Here they come now, up towards turn 12. The left-hander of 11 brings them into 12, a crucial corner that divides the 800-metre straight of Sands Avenue and the Las Vegas Strip, 2 kilometres long, where Lewis Hamilton now sits in Alonso's slipstream. Can Fernando Alonso do anything to stop this Mercedes charging past on this straight? He looks in the mirrors, looks to the right, looks to the left, and he doesn't defend. Hamilton is going to come down the inside, and he can pull right back to the racing line and actually turn in unimpeded to turn 14. It's a nice, easy move then for Lewis Hamilton, who's up into 8th spot.
Yeah, simple stuff with the help of DRS as well. And just looking at this gap, Jolene, between Perez and Leclerc, it's staying around about 8 to 7/10 of a second. So Perez is doing the right thing. He's keeping it clean. We've got a yellow flag now in the final sector.
Leclerc looks actually very close to Perez as they hit the brakes for turn 5. It's Nico Hülkenberg who is pulling off the road in the final sector, whereas Hülkenberg is on the exit at turn 16. He's managed to find his way to an access road, so that shouldn't necessitate a safety car, as we've only got 3 laps to go. That's okay. Hülkenberg is out of the race then, but the Haas driver wasn't looking like scoring points today anyway. Charles Leclerc is the Ferrari driver that you can hear now, hitting the brakes for turn 12, looking at the back of the Red Bull, and he will have a chance, Rosanna, trying to fight back for second.
Yeah, lots of track action going on with Nico Hülkenberg pulling off. I'm just having a quick look at the as it stands situation when it comes to the championship standings. Perez at this point will take home 18 points. That would give him 276 points, and that would secure him P2 in the driver's standings. If we look at the constructors' standings, Mercedes scoring 12 points currently. They would hang on to P2. Ferrari would close the gap though, taking home 21 points. So we'd go into the final round in Abu Dhabi next weekend with Mercedes on 394 and Ferrari on 383. So still all to play for in the constructors.
3 laps to go, and it might get even closer than that. Charles Leclerc hits the brakes, goes down through the gears, down to 3rd for the tight left-hander at turn 1. Squeezes on the throttle as he comes through 2 and turns it into the right-hand side at turn 3. He's got the Red Bull of Sergio Perez in his sights, and he will open the DRS as he heads down to the MSG Sphere up at turn 5. Yuki Tsunoda reporting he's got a gearbox issue. May well be our 3rd retirement of this race, as we have just a few laps to go. Perez now feeling the heat of Charles Leclerc. Verstappen's away. He's 4.6 seconds clear, and he should take this victory from here. But who will take second place? George Russell's on the tail of Lance Stroll. So there's more fighting to be done for Mercedes in this response, in this battle for second place in the Constructors' Championship. Sergio Perez, as you say, looks set to claim second in the Drivers' Championship with this performance, but can he take second on the road? He's still feeling the pressure. Leclerc's right with him through turn 12.
Yeah, Perez is doing everything right here. He's getting the exits where he needs to, And the most important one, of course, is out of turn 12, and they're heading down the strip now. Max Verstappen streaming away, Jolien.
Fastest lap for Oscar Piastri down in 11th place. He's closing in on Pierre Gasly. We've got another yellow flag in the final sector where Sergio Perez hits the brakes, and it is Yuki Tsunoda pulling off in the AlphaTauri, and he's going to pull off in a similar vein to Nico Hulkenberg just a moment ago. But we're back under green flag conditions. Tsunoda has parked responsibly in the Las Vegas streets then with a couple of laps to go as George Russell sweeps around Lance Stroll and takes 5th place for the Mercedes team. Around the outside into the turn 14. That Mercedes car has got some straight line speed today, and there was nothing Stroll could do to keep Russell behind. Now he will look behind and see Sainz and Hamilton fast approaching. But as we head on to the penultimate lap, Charles Leclerc is getting ever closer to Sergio Perez. Down towards turn 5 they go once again. Perez hits the brakes. The red Ferrari right there in his mirrors once again. Perez was passed on the last lap by Fernando Alonso last time out in Brazil. That was for a podium. This time it's for 2nd place, and the race is very much on. Past the MSG Sphere they go, lit up brightly in blue on this Las Vegas night. Leclerc still desperate to try and fight back, try and fight with the Red Bulls. Verstappen is away, 4.5 seconds clear, and is about to start his final tour of this dramatic Las Vegas Grand Prix. But the fight for second will go down to the final lap.
It will, but it looks like Charles Leclerc got ever so close to clipping the wall on the exit of turn 12 as our checker flag waver today will be Justin Bieber. But back to the more important action. Charles Leclerc looks very close now, Jolien.
There might be a chance here. We know Leclerc's good on the brakes at turn 14. He has stumped Perez here before, much earlier in the race, but this time on the penultimate lap, he waits. He'll bide his time. They come through the left-hander of 14. Leclerc runs over a bit of debris, was that?
If we can keep the gap to Checo behind at 2.5 seconds, maybe help to turn along, might be useful.
Chance of that happening, I'd have thought, is Zippo. The communication there from GP to Max Verstappen, who starts the final lap. He is actually slowing down, 3.3 seconds, 3 seconds. Maybe this will happen actually for Verstappen, helping out his teammate. The gap is now 2.7, so fair play to Verstappen. On the final lap, he will try and help his teammate secure a 1-2 for Red Bull. And Perez is still under pressure from Leclerc. They head down to the MSG Sphere at turn 5, the right-hander. Leclerc still 7/10 back. It's going to be one last chance for Leclerc to take 2nd place, and that's going to be turn 14, where, Alice, he is known to be good on the brakes.
Yeah, certainly is. And further back, though, Russell now 0.5 second behind Esteban Ocon, so that Mercedes continuing to work really well for George Russell. Max Verstappen's actually slowed down even more now. 2.1 is the gap as he comes on the radio and says, OK, I'll try, and trying he is. He's certainly slowed down enough, but actually Leclerc now 0.6 of a second and gets ever so close once again to the exit of the barrier at turn 12. But they're on the strip now, Jolien. This is going to be important.
All or nothing then for Charles Leclerc, the final opportunity to take 2nd place. Max Verstappen is slowing down. There's 2 seconds between the top two, but he will take the victory here. It's going to be about Leclerc v Perez for second, and Leclerc is right with Sergio Perez as they come towards the brakes, and he takes a dive to the inside, and it's another lovely move from Charles Leclerc at the final corner of the Grand Prix. He's caught Perez out again, and he's up into second. He weaves to the inside. There's 800 metres still to go in this Grand Prix. Through the final corner comes Max Verstappen for the 18th time in 21 races this year. He will win, but dramatically at the final corner, Charles Leclerc beats Perez, and he disrupts the Red Bull 1-2. A sumptuous move from Leclerc, and he's got himself into 2nd place. What a Grand Prix from the 3 of them, putting on a show the whole way. Russell comes through the final corner, and he will finish 4th ahead of Esteban Ocon, Lance Stroll, Carlos Sainz, Lewis Hamilton. Further back, Fernando Alonso should hold off, and charging Oscar Piastri, they're finishing 9th and 10th. Alice, what a race, and it went from the first corner to the last corner. That is a show.
Yeah, I mean, Charles Leclerc, we said he's good on the brakes, but wow. I mean, Perez will be kicking himself. He didn't even attempt. He thought he didn't need to cover the inside, almost forgetting how good Charles Leclerc is on the brakes.
I think that's 3 out of 3 here in the stage, Max. Should we call it a royal flush?
Well done, Max. As GP says, 3 out of 3. Well done. First ever Vegas race.
Yes, let's go, guys. That was quite fun out there. At least I had fun. Made it a bit more difficult for us, but it was good. I'm sorry, I tried everything I could there on the last lap to give him a tow.
It was good, Max.
He did.
Yeah, well done, mate. You did your best to give him help him out there. Well done.
Christian Horner there coming on the radio as well, confirming he did try. He did drop back, to be fair, to the clutches of Perez, but it wasn't enough to keep Perez second.
At least the second place. At least the second place. Ah! I wanted that win so bad. But what a race. Honestly, there's nothing left. Oh my God.
You did a fantastic job, and you did manage really well.
Yeah, but good job, Charles. Good job.
What a Grand Prix that was. Wow. Really. Even Max Verstappen has got a smile on his face now, having been doom and gloom about the Las Vegas Grand Prix this week. He said he enjoyed it out there. We very much enjoyed that in the commentary box, fighting right the way to the end. And Leclerc, he made that mistake, didn't he? Earlier on, let Perez through. He led the race, then he was second, then he was third, back up to second. He's been through it in this hour and a half, but drove really well today.
Yeah, he did. He drove very well. Driver of the day. The fans at home have voted for Charles Leclerc.
Viva Las Vegas! Viva Las Vegas!
Don't you enjoy that, mate? Well done.
I've been putting on a show, you could say, there, Max Verstappen.
It's as if he's not been talking to the media all weekend and saying exactly the opposite. Seems like he loves the place right now. Max Verstappen, he's been so negative about this Grand Prix, but he is in his element now. We're getting another shot of that Leclerc move. Amazing stuff.
Oh, that was so far back. No wonder Perez thought, I'm pretty safe here. And I was thinking, in all honesty, Charles not going to get that stopped when he dove down the inside. There's the Ferrari mechanics all jumping up and celebrating. And the sound you can hear is the replay we are watching of George Russell. And he swooped quite easily past Esteban Ocon. But, of course, he gets that 5-second penalty, so ends up down in 8th place.
Yeah, so Toto Wolff did say he was fighting for 4th, but with all those cars close together, only 8th in the end for Russell. Here's Verstappen.
Into the pit lane, please, Max. Or should I call you Elvis?
No, don't do that.
Wearing an Elvis Presley overalls today.
Elvis on the podium.
Is. Yeah, he is indeed. In he pulls Rosanna down to the P1 spot.
It's a busy Parc Ferme area. Charles Leclerc getting out of his car, giving the fans a wave on the start-finish straight. And I'm in amongst the Red Bull team who've all got their phones out, trying to capture this special moment. They're Elvis doing it in style. But guys, I'm so confused. Max Verstappen has been so negative about this race, and suddenly, in the final few hundred metres of driving the car around these iconic streets, he suddenly turns into a Vegas lover. I'm a little bit confused. Are you?
Well, I guess he's won the race, Rosanna, in the end. You can't be doom and gloom when you win a race, especially in that fashion. And Max has been in the wars today. Took the lead at the start, was deemed to have done it against the rules, was given a 5-second penalty as he barged Leclerc wide and went wide himself. Got passed by Leclerc earlier on, then fell down the field, lost out to George Russell as well, having taken his pit stop, came back past Russell, there was contact, there was damage for Verstappen, he pitted again, and then he had to charge again. And finally, he came through and took a win, and he celebrates with his team. All smiles down there at Red Bull now after what has been a thrilling Las Vegas Grand Prix. They'll now be driven to the Bellagio for a ceremony at the end of this Las Vegas race. What a race. We've got Chris and Ellie coming up with breakfast in about 20 minutes' time at 8 o'clock. But we're still getting over this one. Absolutely brilliant racing.
Yeah. Do you know what? That's one of... whether it's race of the season, because obviously Singapore was fantastic, but certainly this is up there, isn't it? I mean, Verstappen, you called it, Jolien. Well done. The rounds of drinks are certainly not on you tonight. That's on me and Rosanna, who predicted different winners, but it was a close one. I don't think it was easy for Max. It may have looked easy in the end. Of course, remember, he did have that damaged front wing. He had the help of the safety cars, you could say, even though he had that 5-second penalty. But Leclerc was there and Perez was there, and I think, would the result have been different maybe if Carlos Sainz hadn't have got that penalty? Because Leclerc was up there fighting on his own. He didn't have any help from his teammate at all because he was obviously much further down the field. So could we have seen a different result maybe if that Ferrari of Sainz didn't have that penalty?
Could have been crucial. They could have had a front row lockout. They should have done. But they may be ruining that. The Ferrari car was so quick today. They were on a level with Red Bull, and that'll be exciting. I'm looking out of the commentary box. I can see some, is that limos on the racetrack now, Rosanna? What is going on in the pit lane?
It's a star-studded affair, this. Yes, Max Verstappen, Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz are being ushered towards the start-finish straight. It's all a little bit different this evening. We're not doing things as we normally do. They are going to head out onto the start-finish straight and get into two very smart, I'm going to call them taxis. You're right, sort of elongated vehicles. I don't know if they are actually limos. They are limos. I'm looking. I've got sort of half a car that I can see, and they are going to be transferred up to the Bellagio. I just saw a rather snazzy Elvis jacket being passed around the Red Bull team. I'm hoping Max Verstappen might put that on, go the whole hog.
Well, he's as they're getting into the limo now, looking out for the jacket there, Rosanna. They're all squeezed into these quite fancy limos. Maybe you could get in one of them and head down, or pinch that back so you can give us a lift back to the hotel later on.
I'm always keen to thumb a lift, you know me. any excuse to jump in with the celebs. So they will make their way to the Bellagio, but they will be back for the podium. So there's quite a bit of logistics involved with this. Down in the pit lane, people hanging over the balconies from Paddock Club. The grandstands are absolutely packed. But Jolien, I think you can see where they're heading and what they're up to.
They're heading right past us, and the new cool-down room is, in fact, the back of a Rolls-Royce as they come past us, going now the wrong way down the track. They're going to head to the Strip and head to the Bellagio. Only in Vegas now, the three drivers sitting right together. Let's hear them.
Front. You grained on the medium?
Yeah, completely.
You didn't. We were really good on mediums.
You had a lot of rotation. I just lost my front.
I lost my front wing in at the start.
There was no
mess, and then I think both just broke, and I went on the hill.
I didn't really realise, but where were you starting?
Some good chat there from the drivers. Leclerc saying that he was pretty good on the mediums, whereas Max not so much. And
love a bit of graining chat. The real technical debrief for the two Red Bulls and Charles Leclerc. Perez explaining there that Bottas braked early and he hit him, and that's kind of what put him in the pits at the start and got him all those positions by going different strategy. Let's listen in again.
But I couldn't pull away from him.
The DRS, like as soon as I broke the DRS too, it was fine, but in the beginning,
what
was the Ferrari?
And you can see where are we going?
To the line. We go straight to the nightclub. Skip everything. See you tomorrow, everyone. Or not.
Bellagio.
We end up missing.
Did you have any golf to point?
Turn one was tricky.
There was one occasion where we was like Charles went straight and I went straight like complete, like I felt it like pushing me.
Where was that?
Into turn one.
Yeah, turn one was tricky.
And turn 12. When you locked up Charles, it was a golf to win.
I don't know. I nearly went in the wall.
I saw you.
You had also one to lock up in 12 when you were in front of me.
Yeah.
It's a tricky corner that one.
So Max is off to the nightclub, apparently.
I thought it was a nice race actually. I mean, it was quite fun. Like with the DRS, you could stay.
Good to hear Charles Leclerc thought this was a nice race as well.
I have to agree with him. To be
sitting uncomfortably close to each other on the back seats of this Rolls Royce. They're pulling up now towards the Bellagio.
Yeah, they were
still discussing their race, working out how other drivers finished where they did. Squeezed in Verstappen, Leclerc, and Perez, and now they stop, and we will have the ceremony for the top three at the Las Vegas Grand Prix.
Those in that hospitality where the drivers are just pulling up to $12,000, Jolien, for the weekend. And I was also told that you could get a seat in that hospitality, in that grandstand, if you gambled a certain amount in the Bellagio casino. So we missed out on that one.
Yeah, the best seat in the house, that was, according to Andrew Benson. It certainly will be now. The top three have turned up at the Bellagio at the end of the Las Vegas Strip. You could drink a shoey cocktail there for $135 this weekend. A leather shoe lined with a drinking vessel. And I actually saw fans earlier on preparing their shoey drinks.
Wow.
They've embraced it, I have to say. A lot of the fans here have embraced it, walking through the streets earlier, a lot of merchandise out, everyone excited for this race. And I am pleased that this race that was built up so much, it was not a flop. It was a really exciting encounter there. And it bodes well, I think, for the future. Long straight, I guess the Las Vegas strip there, 2 kilometers long, really helped to create some overtaking opportunities. But what I love is Leclerc still had to work for it to make those passes.
Yeah, he certainly did. And free practice 1 seems a very, very long time ago now, where it started off not so well for F1 and the Las Vegas Grand Prix, but it certainly ended in great style, in great fashion, and we had a fantastic race there, as great scenes we're seeing of the strip still lit up, and the drivers are out of the Rolls-Royce now.
The Bellagio looking resplendent, and now they have got the top 3 drivers, where they will be speaking to David Coulthard down there. What a setting. First of all, let's hear from Sergio Perez.
That was an incredible battle, incredible race. You picked up some damage at the beginning of the Grand Prix, but the safety car brought you back into it. Take us through your race and, of course, that incredible battle with Charles Leclerc.
Yeah, it was. It started really difficult with a lot of damage. Initially, we broke the front wing, so we basically went all the way to the back of the grid, and then progressively we were picking one by one, and things were going well. We had a really strong pace on that first stint, so we put back ourselves in the contention, and then with the safety car that brought us into the race, I overtook Charles, but I couldn't pull away from him. I was just carrying a little bit too much wing in my car, so my straight line speed was a little bit down, and I just couldn't pull away from him. And then Max came, he passed us both. With Charles, he went straight, and it was quite difficult out there with the gust of wind that we had a few times. I ended up locking a few times, but luckily we kept it on track. And then there in the end with Charles, I wasn't expecting him. He was 0.7, but then the braking zone he was there. So well done to him and to Max.
Overall, a very exciting Grand Prix for us to watch in commentary. This is one for you to watch back. Are you giving this one a tick? Las Vegas, it really delivered some good racing.
Yeah, I think it did, because it was good for racing. It was not easy to basically pull away from the people behind, and it's like a little bit like Baku being the lead car makes life a little bit harder for you out there. So I think it did deliver.
Checo, thank you very much for that. Congratulations on your 3rd place. And now our 2nd place finisher, Charles. What a weekend. Another fantastic pole position. Well, where do we start? At the start, we saw a very close battle with yourself and Max. We know Max got the 5-second penalty for that. And then there's an amazing comeback right at the very end.
What a race. Honestly, I enjoyed it so much. I'm, of course, disappointed to only finish 2nd, but at the end, that was the best we could do. At the start, it was very tricky because I think Max on the inside lost a little bit the grip and brought me on the outside. But then we had the pace, we passed him back, and we were really strong overall. So that was a really good race. We got a bit unlucky with the safety car. We didn't pit because we didn't know what the others will do, and we went for track position and keeping that 1st place. And that was difficult with the older tires towards the end, but 2nd place with a lot of fights. Honestly, I enjoyed it.
We didn't know coming into this first Grand Prix in Las Vegas just how good the racing would be. The answer is the racing was absolutely brilliant. It was brilliant entertainment from beginning to end, and to get that repass to get 2nd place on the final lap, it was non-stop adrenaline.
Yeah, no, I really enjoyed it, and I think we needed it. Of course, the weekend didn't start the way it had to start, but I'm so happy that it ended that way. It's such an incredible sport, and I think today is there was no better race for a first race in Vegas. The energy around the city is incredible, and just really, really happy with, at least I really enjoyed today.
And finally, just a quick message for all the fans around the streets here, having a Ferrari on pole and then having a podium.
Yeah, well, I'm sorry about the second place. I gave it all, but on the other hand, I'm sure that everybody had an amazing time looking at the race. I really, really enjoyed it, and we shall have more races like that where the racing is like that, because it was really enjoyable. Thank you.
Charles, congratulations on that second place. And finally, ladies and gentlemen, our winner, taking his 53rd victory, his 18th this season, and his 6th straight victory in America. Max, what a season you're having, but you had to work very hard for that one.
Yeah, it was a tough one. I mean, I tried to go for it at the start, but I think we both braked quite late, and then I just ran out of grip, and we ended up a bit wide, so the stewards gave me a penalty for that. And then, of course, that put us a little bit on the back foot. I had to pass quite a few cars, and of course a safety car again. So at that point already was a lot going on in the race. And then, once we had the matches to the end, we can go flat out. I had to pass a few cars to get into the battle with them, but then you could clearly see with the DRS around here, it was very powerful. So even when you would take the lead, if the guy behind would stay in the DRS, he would still have an opportunity to come back at you, which I think created quite a lot of good racing here today. So it was definitely a lot of fun.
Yeah, the racing was exceptional, and it was close at times as well. We saw the contact there with George Russell. Your front wing end plate was damaged. Did that affect the balance of the car? Did they do an offset at your final pit stop to compensate for that?
I think we were happy not to touch it because it looked already quite, broken. Of course, the structure was fine, but it's never ideal. Let's say like that. There was always a bit more understeer in the car, but luckily, we could still win the race.
Now, Max, for us in the commentary box, for the fans around the circuit, that was a really brilliant race. Definitely worth watching back on your 18th victory. There was so much action out there. So we can declare this a very successful circuit and Grand Prix.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun there. Like I said, with the DRS as well, that helped a lot for very good racing here. Also, I think the low degradation with the tarmac here, you could really push on the tires, which I think was good. Like I said, it was a lot of fun out there.
And finally, Max, just quickly, a message to our American fans here in Las Vegas.
Yeah, great crowd. I mean, I hope everyone enjoyed it a bit. We definitely did. So, already excited to come back here next year and hopefully try to do something similar.
Okay, well, Max, congratulations on that victory. And to our top 3 drivers, it wouldn't be Las Vegas, it wouldn't be the Bellagio if we weren't treated to a little water and light show. So we'll count down to the fountains. Congratulations on the top 3, and thank you, Las Vegas, for this fantastic Grand Prix.
The top 3 then speaking to David Coulthard at the end of this Las Vegas Grand Prix, the first one for 41 years, and quite a different feel to the last time we were here. What a Grand Prix. The fountains now go off in front of the Bellagio, an absolutely spectacular setting, a light show as well, and this is the razzmatazz that we were told would be here. We hoped the race would be good as well. Alice, I think we're calling this one a success.
I think we definitely are. Must be said, great shows. The drivers all watch on, continue to chatter, but like I said, with the dramas in free practice 1, they've certainly saved it with some great racing, great display, and the atmosphere, hasn't it, Jolien, from all the fans has just been electric, as you said. And I actually went into some of the shopping centres. They were queuing out the door to buy merchandise. So I would certainly agree with you in calling it a big success.
The 3rd US Grand Prix of the season, and it is really a spectacular setting as the lights continue to go off. The fountains are blooming up the water in front of the Bellagio, and the top 3 drivers can have a deep think about what they've just done. They're still chatting about it with each other down there. To put this into perspective, Verstappen started in 2nd, took the lead at the start, lost the lead to Leclerc, had a penalty, lost 2nd to Russell, tried to pass Russell again, had contact, took damage, then had to charge past 3 cars, then caught Leclerc and made a move for the lead. That's how he won. We have so many races that are lights to flag victories. That's how Verstappen won. Leclerc started on pole, fell to 2nd, went to 1st, fell to 2nd behind Perez, got back ahead of Perez to 1st, fell to 2nd behind Verstappen, fell to 3rd behind Perez, got back on the last lap ahead of Perez. That's how he finished 2nd. Sergio Perez finished 3rd. At the end of lap 1, he pitted with nose damage, was in the wars, looked like he was out of it, rejoined right at the back of the field. Fast forward 20 laps, and he was leading the race. Then he fell down to second and lost that position on the final lap. Esteban Ocon, by the way, finished 4th. He started 16th. That just sums up just what a balmy race that we've had.
Can you repeat that all over again, please?
I won't be able to do it again.
And also, we forgot the first safety car that came out. We're just out of our commentary box window, and I'm seeing the pretty destroyed, especially that rear left and the rear end of that car, of Lando Norris's car being craned up now. And the drivers, they've hopped back into the Rolls-Royce, and they'll be coming back down the other way to the strip, coming back to the pit lane for the podium.
I hope they appreciated the fountains going off. That was a nice journey for a lovely vista of the fountains in front of the Bellagio. Now they'll come back to the pits and go to the podium, and you'll see them again, Rosanna. Then.
Yeah, and I think the podium's going to be a little bit different. There's lots of activity going on the start-finish straight. We've got those trucks back that were there for the opening ceremony as well. So people now piling on to the start-finish straight. They're doing things a bit differently, aren't they, Las Vegas? Really trying to stamp their authority on what it means to go racing in the US. We've already spoken about the 2 US Grand Prix we've had so far in Miami and in Austin, this being the 3rd and final one. And I think people are going to leave here thinking they've seen something really different, as well as an epic race, which you have just recounted almost lap by lap, Julian, which I enjoyed a lot.
It's just baffling to work out how they ended up in that order. It seems like such a normal order, 2 Red Bulls and a Ferrari, but the way that race unfolded over 50 laps was just drama throughout. It was only the last sort of half a dozen where Max Verstappen finally emerged as the clear winner. But what I love about this, 3 American races, they've all got such a different feel. This is not like Miami. It's certainly not like Austin, which is as different as you can get to this. A conventional circuit and an old school feel of a race. This is new school as much as you can get. It's really a huge show in an iconic city, but it was a great deal of fun.
Yeah, it was. Sorry, Roseanne. We were all kind of coming here, weren't we, on the plane going, oh, we don't know what to expect. But actually, hugely enjoyed it. And yeah, certainly looking forward to F1, of course, coming back again as the drivers have finally made their way back. And it looks like, Rosanna, the podium is now on the track.
Yeah, I said it was different, Alice, didn't I? It's on the track. We've got it all lit up in green and red, obviously with a nod to the sponsors of the race here in Vegas. It is going to be different, bit of razzmatazz, which I think we are now all buying into. This has been a really interesting weekend for Formula One, hasn't it? I really hope that the fans have been told what's happening, because these added logistics are delaying things a little bit. A few fans starting to leave the circuit. They might miss the best bit, the podium, the celebrations.
Oh, come on. We've had a 50-lap epic. The best bit is not the top 3 standing up and waving to the crowd. We've had the best bit, but yeah, still doing things differently. And now Sergio Perez can come onto the podium and take the applause from the crowd. A lot of Mexicans here this weekend. They always turn up in force in the US. And of course, the Mexican Grand Prix that we had last month. And Perez claiming second in the championship. His best ever result, was close to it last year. This time he's got it.
And that's the best result for Red Bull. They've never had a 1-2 in the driver's standing, so he's done exactly what the team boss Christian Horner wanted him to do, taking P2 in the standings, beating Lewis Hamilton to it. You mentioned those Mexican fans, Jodie. You can hear them around the track every time he made a move. They were cheering him on. But I have to say, same goes for P2 man today, Charles Leclerc, of course, our pole sitter. Big cheers when he was getting the moves done out there. Of course, exceptional moves from the Ferrari driver. I do wonder what the reception for Max Verstappen's going to be like on the podium. We've had some boos. I'm really hoping we're not going to hear that now as he takes to the top step of the podium.
He does indeed, and no boos ringing out. He has just really turned it around to be so effusive about this race all of a sudden, hasn't he?
He has turned it on its head. The anthem's playing out. Max Verstappen on the top step of the podium alongside Charles Leclerc and Sergio Perez. There we go then, Max Verstappen and Red Bull victorious in Vegas. What a weekend we've had here in Sin City. We were a little uncertain as to how things might go. So much hype, so much excitement as we all arrived here in Vegas. We had the water valve cover moment in the FP1 session. That got everybody talking. But I think Las Vegas has turned it on and turned it around. We've had an exceptional qualifying session. We've had an even better Grand Prix. Max Verstappen still on the top step of the podium though, but wowie, what a race Charles Leclerc gave us this evening as well in the Ferrari. Formula One moves now to Abu Dhabi for the last round of the season. My big thanks to Jolyon Palmer and Alice Powell. We'll talk to you next weekend from Abu Dhabi. This has been an IMG production from BBC Radio 5 Live. Next up, Chris Nelly.
The voice of the UK. This is BBC Radio